Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto likes Spider-Woman in Marvel. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by HighKeyMars and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. The year is 1996. There was organization once known as Supreme Headquarters, International Espionage, Law Enforcement Division. It was changed in 1991 to Strategic Hazard Intervention Espionage Logistics Directorate. Within another year, the name was changed to Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement and Logistics Division. That name stuck even if nobody called it that, most people just called it SHIELD. In a way, the name fit what the organization wanted to do. To protect and serve the world in a time of crisis was the mission of the group. They wanted to be a unit that would stop crime all around the world, and they did. SHIELD or SHIELD was formed shortly after World War II as a successor to the Strategic Scientific Reserve (SSR), an allied deep science agency which fought against the Nazi-sponsored Special Weapons Division Hydra during the war. The founders of the new agency were Chester Phillips, the director of the SSR, Howard Stark, an industrialist of great wealth and a scientific genius, and Margaret Peggy Carter, the former partner of the American war hero Steve Rogers, better known as Captain America. Ah, Captain America, the man who stole the heart of the entire nations. He was lost at sea trying to prevent a series of attacks. That was damn near 70 years ago, and SHIELD had been looking for him ever since. And after 52 years of searching, they had found nothing. Well, not nothing per se. They found something else while treading the icy waters of the Arctic for Steve Rogers. They managed to find the very thing that Rogers had been trying to drown, the Tesseract. That lead us to the moment that we will begin our story with. Colonel Nicholas Nick Joseph Fury was in a bad mood. Now, this wasn't anything new really, and everyone in SHIELD knew to avoid him when he was like this. However, there were only a couple of people who didn't care about his mood. Unfortunately for Fury, they were the people that he had to answer to. Now members of the board, we don't know what this magical cube is capable of, should we really be messing around with it? You're right, we don't know what it can do, which is exactly why we want you to experiment with the cube and find out what it does. Said the lone female board member. Ma'am, you don't think it's a little bit dangerous to mess with an energy that we know nothing about? Listen here Fury, either complete your orders or order a moving truck, now pick one and complete it, said the older male board member. Yes sir, said Nick Fury, his lone visible eye as cold and hard as stone. Fury exited the office and moved into the main lab room. Okay, listen up people, I want you to run some kind of test on the cube we pulled out of the ocean. I want you to find out what it does, how it does it, why it does what it does, and how we can use it. Get to work. As Fury gave out this order, he shook his head. These motherfuckers have no idea what they are messing with, I just hope that this doesn't create too much of a mess for me to clean up meanwhile in Konoha. Naruto was very young, at the tender age of 4, but he knew a couple of things that were absolute facts. First, was that he had no family or friends, the only person who cared even slightly was the old man Hokage, who to be completely honest, was as absent as any parent Naruto could have. Second, was that he lived on the streets, as nobody wanted him. He knew that one from not ever being allowed inside of the orphanage, so forget getting kicked out, he started off with nothing. The final and third reason was his least favorite, the citizens of the Hidden Leaf Village seemed to not like him for whatever reasons. Now, if you lived your entire life being treated a certain way, you eventually become immune to it, however Naruto filled with his childlike emotions and pettiness, made a life-altering decision, if they didn't like him, who cares? This would go on to become a trend that would define everything about Naruto and the way he grows up. So that is what led to this peaceful Sunday in July into a mob. This is where we begin the story. Naruto was on his way to his mini cardboard fort, the one he had built in the alley next to the bakery, so that he could get first dibs on any and everything that was thrown out from the yummy store. He was headed home after he managed to sneak into the library and steal a bunch of scrolls on how to be a ninja. You had to be something called a Jonin to get access to the scrolls, but Naruto was very sneaky. He had stuffed the scrolls into the many pockets that were on the inside of his pants. He used those pockets for whenever he stole something, because nobody knew about them and they only ever made him turn out his outside pockets. Also, with how thick his pants were, nobody could see anything inside the hidden pockets by just looking at Naruto. In his rush to get back to his home, Naruto brushed a young Chunin who was absolutely wasted from the party to celebrate his newly founded promotion to said Chunin level. Maybe it was the alcohol in his system or it could just be that this guy, Ruaya, was a bit of a but the drunk teen used his ninja reflexes to snatch Naruto off the ground. Ruaya looked at the struggling young blonde boy and with a slurred voice said, "What do you think that you are doing, Brad? You bump into me and then try to run off before saying sorry or begging for forgiveness. Who do you think you are? I am a Chunin of the Hidden Leaf Village and you should show me some respect." Naruto's head snapped up and his eyes narrowed in anger and looked at the drunk teen and calmly said, I barely touched you, I brushed against your legs. If you want me to say sorry, I will do so when you put me down. The drunk teen was seemingly enraged by this and having seen enough, Naruto did something that he once saw a drunk do to another drunk that had frozen the second one. Cocking his head back, Naruto gathered as much spit as he could and spat right into the drunk teen's eyes. The effects were immediate, Naruto was thrown down, and the Ruaya tried to use his hands to rub the spit out of his eyes. Naruto getting up from the ground raced off, desperate to get home. Running through the streets, Naruto never realized that he was being followed by the angry ninja, who was following him from the rooftops. Naruto stopped running. Mostly out of breath and turned the corner into his alley and climbed into his boxes. Curling up into a ball, Naruto was ready to drift off to sleep when a voice whispered from the edge of his mind, move, get out of the box, and Naruto didn't hesitate, moving as fast as his tiny allowed. He scrambled out of his home and back into the alley, just in time to see a large fireball crash into his home, burning everything that he owned in a matter of seconds. Well, almost everything, he still had the stole scrolls hidden away inside of his pants. He turned around to see at the entrance of the alleyway was the same drunk Chunin as before. Naruto glared at him and said, why did you do that? That was my home and all of my stuff, what am I supposed to do now? The ninja said nothing as he marched slowly toward Naruto. Naruto, in turn, began to back up, was getting scared, and when the ninja reached into his thigh pouch and pulled out a weapon, a kunai knife. Naruto gulped and then gasped as the kunai was suddenly inside of his palm, pinning him to the wall. Naruto felt white-hot pain shot all throughout his left arm as he tried to pull the kunai out of his left hand with his right hand. He turned to find the ninja standing mere feet away from him, looking at him with utter disgust. Naruto with all of his might ripped the kunai out of his hand and stood with knife in his hand and blood gushing from the other. He, in his tiny 4-year-old body, stood before the teen ninja and said, I don't know why you burned my house down, nor do I know why you stabbed me, but I will get you back. Ruaya sneered at the tiny boy and said, I find that hard to believe, as young children don't survive stomach wounds. However, if for some reason that you do survive, remember the name Ruaya, child. Grow to fear it and remember that I could kill you at any time I wanted for years to come. Naruto, puzzled by the stomach wound comment, was not all that surprised by the fact that Ruaya lunged forward and stabbed him in the stomach. Naruto grabbed at his bleeding stomach and began to cry. With tears streaming out of his eyes, he watched the Chunin leapt onto the roofs and raced away. Naruto felt all of his strength leave him as he became dizzy and lightheaded. With blood leaving the gaping hole in his left hand and dribbling out of the kunai-filled hole in his stomach, Naruto knew that this was it. There wasn't much that he could do from here, as he didn't know how to treat this level of injuries, and even then, his medical supplies had gone up in flames. So, he did what almost any 4-year boy would do in that situation, he simply gave up. He leaned against the wall and slowly slid down it and looked up at the full moon. Seeing the clear sky, Naruto gave in and just sat there waiting for the end to come. He wasn't prepared for a flare of heat to rush off of his body. The heat boiled to the surface of his skin, and Naruto felt the heat bubbly up on his skin, and suddenly, the hole on his left hand hissed as the skins, muscles, and bone all grew back, and Naruto howled in pain as his body overwent months of healing in a matter of seconds. With his newly healed hand, Naruto pushed himself to his feet as he felt the blood stop leaking from his stomach, and then a terrible pressure built in his tummy. Flooded with a pain that left him breathless, Naruto pulled the kunai out of his stomach and saw that this wound healed in seconds as well. The heat inside of him finally stopped bubbling right underneath his skin and exploded out of him. Naruto's hair blew around his head and his nails grew into small claws. His mouth leaked a little blood as his teeth grew larger and sharper. Finally, Naruto hunched over and let loose a growl and then howled as the heat wrapped around him in a way that Naruto had never experienced before. Finally, Naruto realized that he was being covered in some red energy and whatever it was, it made him feel strong. It was weird that he had gone from the brink of death to feeling like he was the strongest in the world. However, what Naruto didn't feel was the unbelievable bloodlust that he was leaking out. So powerful and angry feeling that it was felt all over the village, and for people older than 14, this was a force that they had felt before and remembered. This was the presence of the terrible nine-tailed fox or the Kyuubi. So, while Naruto was trying to wrap his mind around the sudden change in fate for himself, the villagers and the ninja alike had been rallying in secret to go put an end to what they knew was the source of this. Naruto, shaking his head, began his journey to gather some more cardboard boxes to try and rebuild his makeshift homes, and upon exiting the alley, came face to face with a bloodthirsty mob. With the Kyuubi charka running through him, Naruto was able to faintly sense their negative emotions and who they were directed at. Fearing for his life, Naruto took off running, at speeds on par with a healthy adult male civilian. Unfortunately for Naruto, the people who were giving chase were not all civilians, and the ninjas in the mob quickly caught up to him, and one tripped him. Oops, snickered one Chunin as another one began to kick Naruto. Civilians finally caught up and Naruto shook with fear at the sight of so many bats and other household items that were going to be used as weapons against him. The beating began with a bat cracking Naruto over his head and a sharpened rake being stabbed into his feet. Naruto roared in pain. Cheers were heard throughout the mob at the sight of the young boy roaring in pain. Naruto gasped as breathing became harder and harder and he felt the heat that was filling him explode outwards once more and a shroud of charca bubbled around him. The charca, red in color and angry in nature, wrapped around Naruto. Fox-like ears formed from the charca took their place on the top of his head and his arms and legs became coated in animal-like limbs and it was something with 4 legs. Naruto shook his head as the pain became less and less. The shroud had finished covering Naruto and the civilians all took steps back as they noticed the swishing tails behind the young boy. The 3 tails that twirled around Naruto's ass injected fear into the civilians and the ninjas weren't much better. Naruto, realizing that everyone was backing off, slowly made his way to his feet and looked around at the people. And then it happened, the single action that drove away all of the fear in the mob. A shinobi set a blast of fire at Naruto and it connected as a direct hit. Naruto was pushed on his side and that is where he would be forced to remain as the mob once again began to tighten their circle around the defenseless boy as their fear subsided and their anger and other malice-based emotions rose. They jeered and slung curses at the cornered boy. Naruto's head snapped back for a kick and Naruto looked down at his hand that held the kunai and made a decision. He slashed his right hand forward as some women threw a kick at him. The result was Naruto's arm being splashed in blood as the Kyuubi enhanced kunai sliced right through the generic woman's leg and bone, leaving a stump in its wake. Naruto jumped to his feet and all of the smiles that had been on the mob's faces dropped as they realized that they had indeed awakened the demon that they not so secretly feared and hated. Naruto, looking around at the countless various people, growled and snarled as they once again began to try and close ranks around him. Naruto screamed and a shock wave of charca pushed everyone back and most off of their feet. Glaring at the people who had attacked him first, Naruto stood ready to attack whoever came at him next. Naruto had decided that no longer would he stand around and allow these people to bully or use him however they wanted. Standing with his newfound confidence, Naruto began to make his way through the mostly still-downed crowd and felt a shift in the air, resulting in him taking a side step to the right and snapping his left hand out to catch the kunai that had been thrown at him. Snarling in primitive anger, Naruto turned and looked at the sorry-ass ninja that had thrown the kunai and flicked his wrist and sent the kunai back from where it came. Shaking his head, Naruto began to walk away and then it happened. In about a matter of seconds, 20 Anbu dropped onto the street from seemingly nowhere. Naruto looked around at the new people who clearly had the abilities to kill him and the weapons on hand to do so, but rather than attack, the foremost Anbu pulled out his short sword and dropped it before raising his hands into the air and framing his dog-styled mask to show that he meant no harm. Naruto began to calm down as these were the same ninjas who always looked out for him before and these guys had most certainly had never attacked him. The red charca began to disappear and the 3 tails soon became a flickering single tail. Naruto took a deep breath when a strange Anbu with a blank mask jumped out faster than the eye could see and stabbed his sword straight through Naruto's chest. It seems that our time here has come to an end. Oh, what is that energy? It pulls to a location, a world, far away from here. That wouldn't be the worst thing. It will certainly be more boring there and once the brat dies, I can go free and remain free. Yes, that works, allow me to pull back. Thought Kurama as an unfamiliar source of energy passed by the world of ninjas. Blood gushed around the entry of the life-threatening wound and Naruto looked down at the handle of the sword that was buried deep into his chest. The single flickering tail of red charca exploded into a more solid set that were 4 in terms of numbers. The red shroud grew tighter and tighter around Naruto until it was like a second skin. Once you could not find the point that his skin ended and the shroud began, the shroud grew incredibly thick and tufts of fur grew all over the shroud. The dog-masked Anbu, will be called Dog from now on, jumped forward and sliced the blank mask Anbu in half and to his credit the blank mask Anbu didn't try to dodge or block, he just stood and took the slice. Dog turned back to Naruto just in time to see a blue light appear under Naruto. Naruto slowly sunk into the light and everyone was shocked at what they were seeing. Naruto finished sinking to the light and the light faded. A weird symbol was engraved on the ground where Naruto once stood. Nobody got to do anything before an ungodly killing intent flooded the village and everyone, even the Anbu, were forced to their knees. The civilians started passing out like flying and those that managed to stay awake threw up their stomachs. The Anbu that managed to maintain control of their body, just barely, looked up to see a sight that made them flinch in fear. I want to know why Naruto is no longer in the village right now. Thunder here is in Sarutobi, the 3rd Hokage. When the Hokage asked something, no matter what the question and no matter the location, he usually got some kind of answer. But this time, nobody knew what to say as nobody knew what happened other than Naruto disappeared in blue light. and that wasn't the best explanation either. Round them up, take them to their cells, and then I want each and every mind ripped open until I get some answers. If they are all brain dead in the end, I don't care, I want answers," commanded the Hokage. "Naruto, where are you? I pray that you are safe, I will not stop looking for you until the day that I leave this world. Forgive me Minato, I have failed you and your legacy are the somber thoughts of the third Hokage. In the Marvel world. When Fury got word that the cube could open portals, he was impressed that his team managed to crack the cube's code so fast. He was happy that he would have something to report to the board members. He was even happier when they said that they couldn't hold any portal open for longer than a couple of seconds. Failure wasn't a thing that he tolerated often, but in this moment with the unknown, he didn't need to be too successful, nor did he want to succeed at this moment. "Sir, there is a new development with the Tesseract, it seems that portal has opened and hasn't closed yet," said one of his more trusted agents, Agent Martin. "What on this earth could be causing the portal to remain open?" asked Colonel Fury. Agent Martin winced and said, "Sir, that is just the thing. The portal is remaining open because of anything from this world. In fact, the portal is being held open by something on another world, we can't shut it off." Fury groaned and rushed back to lab, ignoring the running of his agents. He arrived just in time to see the portal expand slightly before it spat out a fox-like creature that was the size of a child and had 4 tails swishing behind it. His agents all pulled out their guns and pointed them at the creature. Fury looked around the room as the creature did the same. The creature let out a single roar that pushed everything back several inches before it collapsed. What happened next was a major shock to the agents in the room. The 4 tails seemingly melted away, the fur sunk back into skin of whatever this thing was. As the red fur disappeared, the room was very surprised to learn that the creature's other form was that of a small child. A small child who was covered in filthy and ugly orange clothes. The clothes were sliced and cut up all over, and the boy was leaking blood from several deep cuts. He was absolutely covered in blood from places where he seemingly had no injuries. The wounds that they did see hissed as they slowly closed on their own. The red-haired boy laid unconscious on the ground and Fury cleared his throat as to draw the attention of his forces. "At ease agents, I don't think that an unconscious child is the biggest threat in the room. Agent Hugo, see to it that our visitor here makes its way to the medic bay." Fury sighed as he prepared himself another round of who doesn't give a shit more. With the SHIELD board of directors. The meeting wasted an hour of his life, and to sum it up quickly, they wanted to know what happened. Fury told them that the cube opens portal that they couldn't make remain open, a portal opened on its own and dropped off a fox-like creature that turned into a red-haired child who had clearly seen better days. His new orders, to make sure that this small child wasn't a threat to this world and to eliminate him if he was. He was not expecting the news that said child was awake when he exited his meeting, but seeing as how his orders were about the child, he made his way over to visit the child. Upon seeing the child for a second time, he was generally shocked to find out that the child had blonde hair. His medics informed him that the child had been covered in so much of his own blood, they were surprised that he was alive, let alone awake. The injury report on the kid was massive. Full body burns, broken bones in his left shoulder, and both elbows, wrists, and hands. He had recently healed broken ribs. That when Fury asked which side and how many, he was told all of them, sir. He also had a bunch of scar tissue around his abdomen from what looked like a fatal stab wound. His spine showed that it had seen the same abuse as the rest of his body, showing several healed cracks. His legs were in decent shape, slightly torn muscles and a cracked right ankle that had since healed. However, you would never know that this kid had suffered like this when you met him. "Hello, my name is Colonel Nick Fury, the director of SHIELD, what is your name?" "HUVUV if you abikvavu," replied the child. "What does that mean?" Fury asked one of the medics who had been around the child since he woke up. It means whatever he was trying to say, sir. He doesn't speak any language that we've ever encountered before. The pronunciation doesn't match any language on Earth, nor can we find a pattern within his speech pattern that matches languages in our database." Another sigh came out of Fury as he tried to calm down by gripping his face. "You know what, I don't care. Someone find Agent Coulson and have him teach this kid English, Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, and German. By the order of the board members of SHIELD, this kid is now our property." The rest of the agents looked at him like he was crazy, but nobody was willing to challenge the director of SHIELD if they valued their life. "I would like that done today, agents. He is to be listed as an agent and an experiment, as we will either study him for research until we can send him back to where he belongs, or if he has any desire to remain here, we will make an agent out of him." "What would you like me to make his file codename, sir?" asked one of the desk agents. Why don't we go with experiment portal subject Fox and for his agent codename? Surprise me." As the agents rushed around the base, everyone seemingly having an idea of what they were doing, besides Naruto, who was wondering what all the people and signs were saying because he couldn't understand them. Naruto had been a ward of S.H.I.E.L.D. for 11 long years and he loved every second of it. It took Naruto a couple of months to learn English to a normal conversation level, but once he knew enough to talk, he never shut up. Naruto had been willing to talk to anyone about anything, something that didn't exactly fly with the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents that were tasked with babysitting the young boy when he first got there. I mean, who would want to spend every second of the day talking with a 4-year-old boy who wouldn't stop talking and never seemed to get tired? They learned a lot from Naruto, mostly about his homeworld. How his people had treated him, how nobody was there for him. It was a sad topic for most of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents because while they willing to kill people, most of them were against harming children. They didn't tell Naruto that they managed to save some scrolls and books that they had found in his pants when he had arrived, mostly because they wanted to analyze and see what they could gain from them before they reintroduced them to Naruto. When Fury was forced to give Naruto the option to become a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent because the board members demanded it, he was surprised that Naruto was so willing. Only to find out that Naruto's world was basically full of child soldiers who were trained for 4 years before getting sent out into the world to do whatever they were assigned. So, at the tender age of 4, Naruto was put into the grindhouse, given the toughest training that they could give a 4-year-old. They were concerned about the age of Naruto. However, any concerns were put to rest and then blown away when Naruto easily accomplished whatever physical feat that they asked him to do. 100 push-ups, done in minutes. 250 sits, Naruto did it before asking for breakfast. Run 10 miles, that was a game of tag with Naruto. Fury and the board members were blown away by Naruto's abilities from a young age. It was clear why Naruto came from a world full of child soldiers. If every child was this capable, they would need proper training. Naruto didn't even get 2 weeks to adjust to his first set of training before he was put into full combat training. At first, Naruto was a brat that they weren't equipped to deal with. He would skip his lessons, forcing his instructors to search for him. He would pull pranks, some that just required a cleanup that they forced Naruto to do. Others called some more serious damage that hurt the budget of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, one day while Fury was attending to some more hands-on level of field work that required his memory, the board of directors decided that Naruto could use a bit of a tune-up with his mind. They wiped the memories of his homeworld and curbed certain traits of his behavior. Nothing too serious to be extremely noticeable, but after a couple of months, Fury realized that something was different. The argument was so bad they wouldn't be able to air it on the news, but in the end Fury got his way. Present moment, for plot purposes, late 2006. He's late, said an angry male voice. Sir, he is a little bit behind schedule, but that's to be expected with the situation at hand, said a second voice, this voice being female. Do I look like I care about what the situation for him is? I said be here at 2 p.m. sharp, it is now 2:03. He is late. Replied the angry male. Thud. 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 There was the sound of something bouncing down the steps and both of the owners to said voices put their hands on the guns on their hips. The door to the room opened slowly and something was kidded into the room, landing at the feet of the angry male. Objective complete, sir. I have eliminated Jenkins, Harris, and all of their personal guards. I already put in the call for the janitors to clean up all of the aisles. Said a youthful male voice as a figure entered the room as well. I guess that phone call would explain the 3 minutes and 44 seconds that you had me waiting here for. But I guess that's okay. Congratulations, Agent Whiskers, welcome to S.H.I.E.L.D., full-time and permanently. Said S.H.I.E.L.D. Director Fury. The figure turned out to be a teenage boy, if you could call him that. He stood 5 feet 5 inches tall, with a head full of blonde spiky hair. He wore a black zip-up leather vest, with nothing underneath it. He wore a pair of pitch black set of pants, made of a fabric so secret and classified that I'm not allowed to bring it up. His lightweight combat boots were also black, and to complete his look, he had a sword strapped across his lower back. The teen boy aka Agent Whiskers dropped to the floor and started punching the ground, muttering something that no one could hear. Suddenly, the boy jumped to feet, ripping the sword out of his sheath and used it to point at Director Fury. Fuck you, Fury, today is your day of reckoning. After today, you'll never be able to call me Agent Whiskers again. Roared said Agent Whiskers as he threatened to gut Fury like a fish. Suddenly, there was a burst of smoke and Naruto slid into a ready position with his sword. However, when the smoke cleared, the standard debriefing room that had been bare before, with just a table and a set of chairs, was completely different. The room now contained a bunch of decorations, all of which said Agent Whiskers. The balloons, the cake, the banner that said, "Congrats Agent Whiskers." Also, what had been just 3 people had morphed into a group of 20. Wait a minute, where the fuck did you guys come from? There was like 3 of us in this room. Screamed Naruto as he pointed his finger at all of the new people in the room. TSK, Director Fury, it seems that Naruto here might not be ready to join SHIELD full-time. I mean, how could he miss 17 people when he entered a room as bare as this one? Said an agent that Naruto was somewhat familiar with, Maria Hill. What? No, I didn't notice you because you were behind the hologram projected wall with scent blocking, said Naruto. Everyone looked at him, a little shocked, as despite being a nice and somewhat smart kid, Naruto was a bit of an idiot. It was only through the intense SHIELD training that they had formed this little assassin, well that and his DNA basically made him into a natural-born assassin. Well, as much as I would like to stay and celebrate with you guys, someone has to run this program, and unfortunately that someone is me, said Fury. He turned, and his trench coat billowed out behind him, and Naruto stared at the cool way that Fury left. One day, I'll have a trench coat, and then I will make the best dramatic exits of all time, just like Fury. Stated Naruto, ignoring the faces that he was given. Well Naruto, this is 11 years in the making, but officially welcome to SHIELD, said Agent Clint, whatever his last name was. Naruto wasn't the best with names. Everyone raised a cup to Naruto, who couldn't help but think about what led him to this point, a 15-year-old super spy who killed people, the dream job. So, Mr. Official Agent of SHIELD, any plans now that you have the official title? Asked Maria Hill. I don't know yet. I mean, I've basically been part of SHIELD these last 7 years. I don't really feel any different. I guess I will just try my best to continue to do what I have done. I plan on serving SHIELD the best that I can. Agent Barton snorted and said, kid, life is about the finer things in life. The job is the job, but life is everything else. Don't take the job so seriously, it's bad for your health. Naruto frowned, and suddenly alarms went off all over the base. Alert. 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 What's going on? Asked Naruto as he snapped into his professional mode, ready for any assignment given. We got a situation, it seems that our homegrown weapons maker, one Tony Stark, was attacked, hurt, and kidnapped. Said Fury from the doorway. The SHIELD agent snapped into the attention position, and Fury waved them off into a normal position. Agent Barton. Hill and Whiskers, I want Stark found yesterday. The rest of you, I want answers on who did this, where their grandma stays, and what blood type she has. If they so much as question whether to use 2-ply versus 1-ply, I want to know. You have your orders, now get to work. And get to work they did, splitting up as they each had their own approach about solving the assignment. Agent Hill started off with traveling to the site of the crime, scanning and investigating anything that looked promising. Agent Barton went with a more technological path and used the tracking satellites to see if he could track the heat signature of Tony Stark. Naruto did things in a different way from both of them, not investigating or searching for clues and trying to find breadcrumbs, he went the way of interrogation. He started by shaking down village by village, doing whatever he had to do to get answers. The other agents went about the more standard protocols about finding out what they needed to. And after 14 weeks, they managed to find everything that they need to, bring everything to Fury. Okay, so you all have a report ready for me? Yes sir, they all stated. From what I've gathered, Tony Stark is being held hostage deep in the caves of Afghanistan. He was taken by a budding terrorist organization called the 10 Rings. The aims of the organization are still unknown, but they are stockpiling weapons. The weapons seem to be of the Stark Industry type, despite the fact that Tony Stark says that he wouldn't sell to anyone but the United States. Started Naruto, his report being the most complete. That is interesting, do we have any idea how they are getting these weapons? Questioned Fury. Accounting to the way that Stark Industry works, only the 2 CEOs can make this type of decision. Since Stark is the one that was attacked and kidnapped, we can only assume that it is Obadiah Stane that has been selling the weapons under the table to the 10 Rings. Answered Naruto. Also, sir, we have managed to limit the area that they are holding Stark to this 10-mile radius. He has to be in this region because it is close enough to their stronghold that they can report anything or receive orders within minutes, but also far enough that nobody would think to check here because of the closeness to their base of operations. Continued Naruto as he displayed a map of the area that he believed Stark to be in. Okay, I want around-the-clock surveillance on the area that you have circled. If they so much as pass gas, I want to know what it smells like in detail. Thus, began the process of waiting and observing began, with Agent Barton and Naruto being the primary observers. They weren't watching for long as within a couple of days, they witnessed a massive explosion of fire. Naruto looked at Barton and said, is this above my pay grade? Whiskers, you don't have a pay grade, so let's go check out what that is. Naruto frowned, but followed the older agent as they raced toward the towering flames. On their way to the flames, they ran into a group of 7 guys. Naruto jumped into the air and spun around and kicked the first one in the face. Using the face of the first man to launch himself at the second person that he saw. Kneeing that man in the stomach, Naruto slammed his fists into the back of the man's bent over head. Naruto ran towards the next man and at the last second dropped onto a slide. Taking out the feet of the third person that he fought, Naruto jumped up and slammed his knee into the back of the man's head. Ducking under a wild knife swing, Naruto grabbed the arm of the swinger and slammed his palm into the chest of said man. Driving his elbow into the temple of the wheezing man, Naruto let go of the unconscious man. Naruto looked and saw Barton finishing off the final man of his three. "You're getting slow in your old age, Barton. Maybe you should consider retirement," teased Naruto. "Sure, I'm getting old whatever. I'm 29, sorry that I am not some 15-year-old super soldier. I had to wait until I was 21 to become an agent." Naruto got ready to retort when something blasted over their heads and crashed a couple miles away from them. "Did you see what I just saw?" asked Naruto. "A metal man falling through the sky," answered Barton. "Okay, I'm going to call this one in," stated Naruto as he opened his wrist communicator. "Omega 17, this is Whiskers, do you have the dial up?" said Naruto as he used the coded language of S.H.I.E.L.D. "Hello Whiskers, the dial is up and the window is wide open," was the response that Naruto got from a generic agent. "I seem to have spotted a silver canary, any advice on how to approach it?" Patches suggest approaching with caution, as canaries are weary of things that have whiskers. Naruto nodded to himself and said okay, thanks Omega 17. Barton raised his arms and said, "What's the orders?" "We are to see what it is, approach with an investigation mindset and capture if we believe that it is what we are looking for or something that we can use to find what we came here for." Barton nodded and the duo set off, racing towards the place that they saw the figure crash into. They saw a single figure walking in the distance and then the roar of a jet overhead. Naruto turned to Barton and gave him the signal that it was time for them to disappear. They watched Stark get reunited with his friend, Colonel Rhodes. "Don't you just love a happy ending, Whiskers?" "Shut the fuck up Barton, you already know that we're going to hear it from Fury because Stark basically saved himself." "Oh yeah?" The duo started to sulk as they had a long way back home. And home wasn't going to be a nice quiet place with Fury finding out about Stark. In a way they were wrong about Fury, he didn't yell at them. That made it all the worst for them. "So the two of you are telling me that Stark built himself a robotic super suit and managed to escape on his own?" Barton and Naruto both nodded in confirmation. "So which one of you was born at night?" Barton shook his head and Naruto raised his hand. What he didn't expect was for book to be thrown at his head. "Was it last night, Whiskers? You let Stark get picked up by the very people who lost him. Does that make any sense to either of you?" Neither of the agents had anything to say to that. "Get out of my office, the sight of you is testing my goddamn patience." "Oh, and Whiskers, your request forms for a new agent codename will be used to wipe my ass since you and Barton can't follow simple orders." Barton snickered and Naruto groaned and hung his head. The group of field agents gathered in the lounge room, there was about 25 of them. "So Barton, I heard that you and Whiskers are in the doghouse again. What did you do this time, forget to spread the cream cheese on Fury's bagel this morning?" said one agent Tompkins, a white man with brown hair and eyes. He was a generic white guy, average build, weight and appearance. "I don't know Tompkins, how long has your wife been cheating on you with your partner Agent Davis?" retorted Naruto. Agent Tompkins snorted and was about to snap back when he noticed a scared look on his partner Agent Davis's face. "You son of a bitch," roared Agent Tompkins before he launched himself at his partner with the intent to murder him. "Wow, you're an asshole Naruto. How did you know that Tompkins' wife was cheating on him?" "Caught them in the bathroom almost 2 weeks ago, been holding on to that one until Tompkins was dumb enough to mouth off to me." "That's crazy, I didn't know that you were capable of keeping your mouth shut for that long." "Blow me Barton. By the way, when is your real partner getting back? I am a solo act, don't need you slowing me down any longer than necessary." I don't really know. Nat will be back whenever she gets back, I mean there isn't really a timetable for her, she can do whatever she wants." "I'm glad that you know that Barton, even happier that you know that I am the one carrying this duo," said a third voice, this one belonging to a female agent that they both knew. Barton and Naruto both turned and looked at the source of the voice and saw Natasha Romanoff, the extremely fine and curvy red-haired agent. "Nat, when did you get back?" asked Barton. "Just in time to watch Naruto say that you're slowing him down," said the 21-year-old female agent. "Seriously, I am not that old, I am only 29," said Barton with a little bit of fury in his voice. "Bro, I am only 15 years old, I turned 16 in like 13 days, but Nat hasn't even turned 22 yet. Face it man, you're old," said Naruto. "First of all, I am still young enough to kick your ass, so watch your mouth. Second, you just gave up when your birthday is, Naruto. We spent 11 years trying to figure it out and from what you just said, 13 days from now is October 10th, said Barton. "Okay, this is going in the calendar, we now know what Naruto's birthday is," muttered Natasha as she typed something into her S.H.I.E.L.D. PTA. Yeah, enjoy it while you can, but if you tell anyone, I will kill you," said Naruto in a dark manner, his eyes turning pitch black and the lights in the room dimming. "Whatever you say, Whiskers," was the response from Nat, and just like that the aura of danger around Naruto faded as he pouted and crossed his arm. "Agent Whiskers, please report to the Director Fury's office ASAP," came out of the intercom. Naruto sighed and muttered angrily, "What does he need now that he couldn't say literally 8 minutes ago when I was his office?" It turns out that it was actually extremely important for Naruto. "Naruto, do you remember how you ended up here inside of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I remember a large amount of heat, a lot of pain like I was getting stabbed and then waking up here, but I couldn't understand a thing that you guys were saying." "Well, there is a little bit more to the story, Naruto." "Then why is this the first time that I am hearing of this Fury?" "We always intended to tell you the truth, but we were never sure of the right time to tell you. I wanted to tell you as soon as you arrived here, but you didn't speak English. The board members wanted to never tell you, possibly fearing what your reaction would be. Would you want to stay here? Would you revolt against us? They had a lot of questions and concerns about what you would say and do if you were told. So, eventually we managed to come to an agreement. We agreed to tell you when you became an official S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, which has now come to the point." "Cut the shit, Fury. Tell me what you are taking forever to get out," said Naruto with an edge to his voice. He was rarely this serious, and Fury nodded slowly as he reached into this desk and pulled out several scrolls and books. "What are those?" Naruto asked, eyeing the weird-looking reading material. "If you can read what this says, I will tell you everything that I know," replied Fury. Naruto frowned at hearing that, but took the first book that Fury offered him. "The title of this book is The Art of Chakra Control by Tsunade Senju, sir. What language is this exactly? I remember and know what it means, but you never trained me in this language." "Naruto, what I am about to tell you will be shocking, but I want you to understand that it doesn't change anything about who you are, nor what you mean to S.H.I.E.L.D. You are a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent first and foremost, and anything else second." Naruto nodded, and Fury continued on. "In the year 1996, S.H.I.E.L.D. had an eventful year. We lost the Starks. Howard was one of our founders. We managed to recover a long-lost energy cube that could open space and time. And we managed to acquire one, Naruto Uzumaki Aka Agent Whiskers, you. These 3 events may seem random, but they all connected. We recovered the cube, and enemy spies believed that Stark was transporting it. Now, officially they died in a car crash, but we question how said crash occurred. The cube was being studied, and we were able to open up portals for a couple of seconds at a time. Imagine our surprise when one of these 2-second portal refused to close. I come down here and a fox-like creature spills out of portal and with a single roar, pushed everything in the room back. The creature whines in pain, and the red fur sinks back into the body of the fox, and the fox turns into a boy. And that boy was me. I am a fox. No, we ran a lot of tests on you after we healed you, and everything else had settled. No, you are as human as I am. No, Naruto, what I am trying to tell you is that you are not from this planet Earth. You came through the portal and have been here ever since. Now, you can bitch and moan about how nobody told you, but in the face of everything that has happened since you arrived here, would that have changed anything? What would you have done different? Would you strive to protect the world? Would you be determined to go back to a world that you know nothing about?" Naruto listened to Fury, and his words rang true in his head. What would the knowledge that he wasn't born on this planet have changed? He was still Naruto Uzumaki, an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and that was something that he was offered and chose to do. "That would have changed absolutely nothing, sir," said Naruto. "Good, now these books and scrolls are yours to do with as you please. You are the only person on this world that these are of any worth to. Use them as you please," said Fury as he slid over the 3 scrolls and 2 books. "Just one question, sir. You said that I arrived here in 1996, that was 11 years ago. I would have been 4 turning 5 at the time. Why don't I remember anything before waking up here one day?" Fury hesitated in answering, but Naruto couldn't get the grip on if the eye patch wearing man was lying to him or not. "There are a couple of theories that my teams had put together. Nobody really knows how the portals work, so we don't know if you were a baby when you fell into the portal or not. It could have been almost unbearable pain traveling through the portal. The resulting trauma could have caused you to repress the memories of any event before the portals. I don't really know, I didn't experience it myself." While Naruto was okay with the answer and was unable to tell if it was a lie or not, something deep inside of him could tell. The master spy is lying through his teeth. This could be the beginning of the end of this relationship if I give it the right push. No, the time is not right at this moment. Let's just plant the seed of doubt for now. Naruto walked out of Fury's office with the reading material from his world when he heard a whisper. It was so close, it was like it was inside of his head. "He lied to you, he knows why you can't remember being a child in your world. He had always known." Naruto looked around for the source of the voice, but he saw and heard nobody. Frowning and confused, Naruto continued to his room as he had some reading to do. Just, what was this chakra and what did it mean for him, how could he use it? Well, this Tsunade person was about to let him know. Back with Fury. The board was again not pleased with Colonel Nick Fury and they were really showing it. I see no reason that you should have informed the subject about his origins. As far as he should be concerned, he was born on this planet and will be used to protect it from any threat, regardless of the origin of that threat, said the female board member. What is wrong with you people? The boy came here as an enraged fox with four tails swishing behind him. When we pulled and viewed his memories, we saw that he could kill every single agent that we have in our system. He comes from a world where every single being is capable of taking over this world with ease. And guess what, he managed to slay a bunch of those guys with ease when he was covered in that red energy. Now, I can't see the future nor can I read his mind, but I see no reason to not tell him. It is better that he believes that I will tell him the truth instead of him learning of it through other means. What if he managed to break through the mental barriers that you put in his mind, what? He explodes in anger and we get more than four tails. Not on my watch. You told me to protect this world from any danger, but it seems that you forgot that your actions can be the source of danger as well. Fury was furious and he turned off the communicator, unwilling to speak to the idiots in charge anymore. In a shield bed bunker. The female agent was reading her mission report, having returned from a long-term mission. She was proofreading the report when her wrist PDA went off. She looked confused at the fact that someone was communicating with her through this device, since it was a private line that few people had access to. Answering the call, she came face to screen with the board of directors for S.H.I.E.L.D. Good afternoon, Agent, the time has come. Are you sure? Have we reached that point? Ma'am, as we have stated, the time has come. You are to get close to the boy, seduce him, make him love you, and make him loyal to the cause. The agent brushed her long red hair out of the way and nodded. I understand, members of the board. Good, do not fail us, Agent. And just like that, she had a new mission. Sometimes it sucks to be good at what you do, but you do what you have to do. Naruto wasn't exactly a super smart guy, but he was capable of putting some things together. So, over the last 3 weeks, he had been given some personal time to study this chakra stuff from the books and scrolls. He had tried almost all of the beginner exercises on channeling chakra and every now and then, he would feel a surge or a twitch of energy inside of his body, but nothing too serious. The progress was slow, but also had its pros to go along with the massive con that was time consumption. It was clear to Naruto that this was something that he would need to train over a long period of time. However, his body had reacted to this chakra flowing through his body, he had grown 3 inches in 3 weeks and packed on another 20 pounds of muscle. That meant that he stood at 5'9" and weighed 190. A somewhat big upgrade over his previous 5'5" height and 145 weight. And if Naruto was being honest, he did have much to complain about with the increase in height. On the other hand, there was one thing that Naruto was willing to complain about. Naruto never knew clothes cost so much when you are paying out of your own pockets. But he was physically stronger and he felt faster, despite the extra weight, he still wasn't some muscle-bound guys, he retained his slimmer build as the weight and height balanced out. Sooner rather than later, all of his personal time was up and he was due back at S.H.I.E.L.D. And it turns out that he wasn't the only thing to change. Naruto, I want you to meet Agent Wagger, she was a call-up agent from our reserves pool while you were away on your private time. She has performed well enough that she will continue to be one of our active agents until we can find you a more permanent partner. Fury told Naruto as he introduced him to a very beautiful girl. She had perfect creamy skin, green eyes that grabbed your attention, and mid-back length red hair. Nice to meet you, Naruto, my name is Samantha Wagger, you can call me Sam or Agent Wagger if you want. I am excited to partner with the youngest S.H.I.E.L.D. agent in history, you're quite the well-known agent. Naruto blushed, not used to any type of praise from strangers, and said, thanks, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, you can call me Naruto or RMMMM, it is a pleasure to work with you as well. Fury shook his head and Agent Wagger asked I didn't hear part of that, can you repeat it? Naruto didn't say anything and things became a little awkward until Fury sighed and said, the guy who wouldn't speak all of a sudden, name is Naruto Uzumaki and his codename is Agent Whiskers. Now I have shit to attend to, so don't make a mess of anything while I am away, Naruto. Fury left, ignoring the glares from Naruto as he walked away. Naruto's eyes would light a fire on the sun, that's how much anger was in them. Agent Whiskers is something that was assigned to me when I was 4 years old. It kind of stuck because of the whisker marks on my face, and Fury refuses to go through with my request forms asking for a new codename. I think it's cute. You could have a basic codename like the rest of us. Again, Naruto turned a certain shade of red and Agent Wagger giggled at the sight of a red Naruto. Suddenly there was a knock on the open door to the training room that they were in. Knock knock, it is one Agent Romanov, said Natasha as she entered the room. Agent Wagger didn't like the way that Naruto and his attention were immediately drawn to the other red-haired beauty. "Hey Nat, what are you doing here?" asked Naruto. "Well, I heard that you had gotten back from your little trip and wanted to see how you were," said Natasha. "Well, I think that I am in as good health as I've ever been," replied Naruto. "Tell me about it, you're about 3 or 4 inches taller. And you look more solid than before, as if you put on some weight over these past 3 weeks," commented the original Russian red-haired agents. Yeah, I guess I am a little taller and put on some weight over the past 3 weeks. It's been a little weird because it kind of came out of nowhere, I just kind of grew." "You look good," commented Natasha as she gave the slightly younger agent a once-over. "Thanks, but I've been a little rude, this is my new partner, Agent Wagger." Natasha turned to look at the other red-haired female agent for the first time before she dismissed the other female and turned back to Naruto. "Hey, Bird Brain and I are headed out to lunch, want to come with us, Naruto?" "I'm buying," said Natasha. Naruto chewed it over in his mind and said sure before turning to his new partner and telling her that he would see her later. Both of the real agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. left, never noticing the scowl that appeared on Agent Wagger's face. "Jesus Naruto, you take 3 weeks off and you come back taller, heavier, and hungrier. I would hate to be paying this bill," said Barton as he looked at the several plates stacked in front of Naruto. "What can we say, Barton? Our baby has grown up before our very eyes," commented a taunting Natasha. Naruto finished his current burger, third total, and scoffed. "Please Nat, you're like 4 years older than me and Clint over here is the only old person." "Fuck you, Whiskers. I'm 29. How many times do I have to repeat that to you?" "I don't know how many times until you can actually speak it into existence. Besides, even your name is kind of old, Clint. That sounds like an old grandpa's who plays bingo and makes his own soap name." "Nat, please tell me that you think that Fury would forgive me for killing this whisker-covered little shit," pleaded Barton. Maybe. Fury spent 11 years turning this kid into a nearly perfect agent. I don't think that he would be pleased if you killed him. Naruto isn't as expendable as you are, Barton, sorry, but old-timers such as yourself don't have the value like you used to." Barton slammed his head into table and groaned as his partner made an old joke as well. "So, anything interesting happened while I was gone?" 3 weeks of radio silence and 0 mission reports or analysis has left me without a clue as to what has been going on with S.H.I.E.L.D. or anything. I don't know. I don't think that I remember anything, my old age must be catching up to me," replied a snarky Barton. "Your words not mine, Barton, I guess age brings a level of self-awareness that youth just lacks," said Natasha as Barton threw her the 1 millionth dirty look in their partnership. She of course ignored it like always before addressing Naruto. "The biggest event that has taken place in your absence is that Tony Stark had decided that Stark Industries is no longer just a weapon manufacturing company. So, what he decided to branch out. That isn't so bad nor is it noteworthy, plenty of companies do that. It happens sooner or later with most companies that only make one type of product," commented the blonde. Barton shook his head. "Now that would be a normal thing, Stark Industries deciding that they wanted to make more than just weapons. But what Nat here has forgotten to mention is that right now they are not producing anything." Run that by me once more. "You have a company that is worth billions of dollars and they aren't producing any products at all?" asked Naruto. Yup, after his little forced vacation, Stark decided that he didn't want to be in the weapon-making game anymore and quit. You now have a weapons company that doesn't make weapons. Nobody knows what his plan is, but from what we can tell, he is not turning back to weapons anytime soon." Barton is right, from all of the reports that we've gotten on the state of Stark Industries, there seems to be a massive overhaul in the entire company. Nobody happens to know the director of the company besides Stark. Naruto had a hard time wrapping his head around what Barton started explaining, and Natasha finished. "We don't have an agent planted in Stark Industries. They are a global force if the company ever had the wrong man in charge. I feel like we would have a man on the inside for something like this very issue," said a somewhat confused Naruto. "We are working on it, but the qualifications that Stark requires for anyone who want to even apply for his company are almost unbelievably high. Hell, his assistant Pepper Potts could run almost any other Fortune 500 company with her education and skills, but instead she chooses to babysit Stark for $25 million a year." Naruto couldn't help but whistle as Natasha finished telling him how much the CEO's assistant made. "Jesus H. Christ, if the assistant makes that much, how much does the big guy in the real chair make?" asked Naruto. Barton looked at Natasha, who nodded before grabbing a napkin and wrote down a fairly long number. He finished and pocketed his pen before he slid the napkin over to the young blonde S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. "You've got to be shitting me, there is no way that guy makes this much," exclaimed Naruto. Natasha and Barton both nodded and Naruto collapsed back in his chair. Tony Stark makes $22 billion a year. You guys ever think that we choose the wrong career path? Asked a somewhat sulking Naruto. If it makes you feel better, Stark has to pay almost 37% in taxes and from the rest of the leftover money, he has to pay all of his employees. Said Barton. It kind of does, but at the same time makes me question the entire economic setup of our country, whined Naruto. As cute as it is to listen to the three of you bitch and moan about how much money you don't make. I need the three of you to get off of your lazy asses and get back to work. Naruto, you will be joining Agent Romanoff and Barton on this assignment. Your new partner has to pass some new shield protocols before she is allowed to do more than fill out your paperwork. Now, get to work and bring me some of that pecan pie. Naruto had 3 slices of. Called out Fury through the wrist communicator that they all wore. Well, break time is over boys, I will bring the wheels around, said Natasha as she got up and left to get the car. The waitress came over and dropped off the check, handing it to Barton. Naruto looked just about everywhere but at the older male agent. Barton kicked Naruto under the table and said, didn't Nat say that she was going to pay? Pay? Wait a minute, you're right. She did say that she was going to pay for lunch, hell that is the entire reason that I came, exclaimed Naruto. Barton opened the bill and saw the 3-digit number that was very close to being a 4-digit number and would certainly reach it with a normal tip of 15%. ANL. That is what I tip BTW, 15% unless the service is amazing. I can't afford this, said Barton as he felt his wallet deflate at the sight of the bill. I can pay for this either, I don't even get paid, said Naruto. What? Yes, you do, I've seen the direct deposit slips with your name on it, replied Barton. What the hell is direct deposit? Asked Naruto with a very confused look on his face. Are you kidding me? SHIELD made you into some type of super spy, but nobody told you what direct deposit is. Get out of my face, I can't deal with your sheer stupidity right now, said a somewhat annoyed Barton. Naruto frowned and got up and turned towards the exit. With his back to Barton, Barton didn't get to see the confident smirk that stretched across Naruto's face. He exited the expensive dinner and hopped into the backseat of the car. Hey cutie, there is a seat up front with the big kids, you know, that right? Asked Natasha in a teasing tone. I think I will let Barton take the front seat today, he just spent a small fortune paying for the food. Natasha shook her head and said, I don't know which is worse, that I left my card on file and the food is already paid for, or that he really fell for that I don't get paid scheme. You fooled me once with that, I would sooner fall in love with a KGB agent who is trying to kill me than fall for your tricks. What, me? No, never. Natasha wasn't buying the false innocence of Naruto. Just then Barton hopped into the car with a massive smile on his face. You guys are never going to guess what just happened with the bill in the dinner. Naruto and Natasha both exploded into a mess of laughter, leaving Barton confused. As it turned out, the mission that the 3 of them were given was a total snooze fest. The 3 of them worked in a rotation, one of them would watch Tony Stark, who seemed to be on his way to perfecting the metal exoskeleton suit that he used to escape the 10 Rings terrorist organization. They watched the extremely rich man run through several prototype suits and literally get some revenge on the group in the Middle East. Nothing too interesting really, Rich Boy was making suits that could kill people, sounds like something a weapons company would make. Another one of the 3 of them would now get to spy on some guy named Bruce Banner, who 5 years ago suffered something in a radiation explosion and gained the ability to turn into a massive green unstoppable force of nature. That would be interesting to see, but none of the 3 got to see that. No, Banner decided that he was all about peace and love. Meaning that the man who could turn green and break a city was determined to never get mad again. So, instead of getting into thrilling fights, saving lives, or assassinating threats, they got to watch a guy attempt to work at Starbucks and attend yoga twice a week. And the final one of the 3, the one who wasn't assigned to Stark or Banner, got to watch Jane Foster. No, allow me to correct myself, fine-ass Jane Foster. For some reason, a woman who could have been a model decided that science was the way to go, and Naruto was glad that she made a weird life choice. The assignment for this one was watch Jane Foster watch the sky at night. This was basically a paid vacation for the 3 highly skilled agents, and they were more than willing to go along with it. The 3 of them were constantly rotating week to week, Stark to Banner to Foster, and then the cycle would restart by itself. This went on for 9 months, and after a while it got a little boring. Naruto's progress with chakra had slowed to a near halt, but his body had continued to change. The now 17-year-old interdimensional shield agent was standing a shade over 6 feet tall. His hair was still spiky, but was a bit longer too, that his hair hung and covered part of his forehead like bangs. He had put on more muscle, filling out his new taller and lankier frame well. The only thing that was even remotely interesting was that Agent Wagger had gotten closer and closer to Naruto. Turns out that she wasn't cut out for the field agent lifestyle, but as an administration agent, she received a lot more time off. What did she use all of her free time to do? Why visit Naruto, of course. Because when you are a drop-dead gorgeous 24-year-old female, you apparently have nothing better to do other than visit a guy who didn't have but a couple of minutes a day for you. So, this is your job. You're just sitting here looking through that telescope at that girl. Commented Agent Wagger. You know, nobody asked you to come with me to work today. Hell, nobody is making you stay here. Replied Naruto as he focused his telescope a little lower. You don't have to be so rude, you know. I was just trying to keep you some company on your boring mission. Naruto made a shut the fuck up face, but refused to look at the red-haired beauty behind him. I mean, what are you even looking at, Naruto? Questioned the annoying sidekick that was Agent Wagger. Naruto didn't get a chance to answer or really do anything as he was pushed away from his telescope and his once-upon-a-time partner looked through it. You don't want to be looking through that, you don't have the clearance, hissed Naruto. You're just watching Jane Foster's butt in yoga pants as she does yoga. Commented Wagger. Why are you even here again? Are you even allowed to be here? Questioned Naruto as he looked at the female SHIELD agent. I am your ride back to New York this week. I have to take you to watch Stark. Naruto narrowed his eyes and said, you really need to stop bring up the names of the people of interest. I mean that is not in line with the mission protocol. This might be why you didn't get to become a permanent field agent. The harsh words leaving Naruto's mouth before he could stop them. Wagger looked at him before she slapped him and walked off. Naruto groaned as he felt a bruise forming on his cheek but ignored it as Foster got to the main stretching of her yoga session. Agent Whiskers, your pickup will be arriving in 2 hours, called out Fury's voice from his wrist. I've already seen Agent Wagger today, sir. I am ready to leave whenever you give the go-ahead, sir. What are you talking about? Agent Hill will be transporting you from New Mexico to New York today. You were told this last Thursday. I literally just saw Agent Wagger and she said that she was supposed to bring me back to New York today. I don't think so, seeing as Agent Wagger is sitting several feet to my right, I find that hard to believe. Naruto gulped, sir, I am going to have to call you back. The blonde SHIELD agent didn't wait for a response before he ended contact with Fury. Naruto jumped over the edge of the building, leaving his equipment as he landed on the sidewalk below. The nearly 25-foot drop didn't hurt the 6-foot-tall blonde agent. It did, however, put him right in front of the person who claimed to be Agent Wagger. Naruto, what are you doing? That was insane, there was a drop of at least 20 feet. Are you insane? I don't have to listen to you. Who are you? Snarled Naruto. It's me, Agent Wagger, Naruto. Really? I just talked to Fury, Agent Wagger is still at our home base. So, who the hell are you? Demanded Naruto. We're signed Hydra. Du denkst, du hast unseren Kopf abgeschnitten, unser Watch to eingeschränkt, aber du hast etwas Wichtiges vergessen. Vergeten Kopf, den du abgeschnitten hast, werden zwei weitere Watchen an deren Platz einnehmen. We are Hydra. You think that you have cut off our head, limited our growth, but you seem to have forgotten something important. For every head that you cut off, 2 more will grow and take its place. The fuck is that? Is that German? Asked Naruto before he was punched in the face. Ha! How do you like that? Taunted the false agent, never noticing that Naruto was not hurt or bothered by the punch, his head had simply snapped back. That was delicious, may I have some more? The words leaving Naruto's mouth scared the false agent to her core. The fist that slammed into her stomach did more than scare her core, it damn near broke it. She leapt back and slid into a fighting stance, ready to fight Naruto. Naruto scoffed at the thought that the girl could do anything to him. When du denkst, dass ich dich fürcht, hast du ein anderes Ding, Kumpel, if you think that I fear you, you've got another thing coming, buddy. I don't understand, you were literally speaking English 2 minutes ago, what is with all of the German? He never got that answer as the fake agent started throwing punches at Naruto. Naruto slid his head to the right, dodging the punch, and grabbed the wrist of his attacker. Bringing his other elbow down on the middle of the forearm of the arm that he gripped, Naruto broke the fake agent's arm. The false SHIELD agent screamed silently as the pain rocked her like a hurricane. Releasing the now dangling arm, Naruto hit her in the neck with an open palm, forcing her to start gasping for air. Using the wide opening of her mouth, Naruto managed to slide his hand into her mouth and ripped out the tooth that didn't feel like all of the others. He allowed the girl to collapse to the ground, holding her broken arm with her good hand and her mouth leaking a little bit of blood. Yeah, you can't take the easy way out this time. Now, why don't you start to speak some English before I do a little bit worse? Said Naruto in a dark manner. About 2 hours later, when Agent Hill showed up to pick up Naruto and drop off Agent Barton, the false SHIELD agent was all but begging to deal with anyone but Naruto. PPPL please INU01BB, but HM, said the Hydra spy as she was taken onto the SHIELD jet. Barton looked at the crying mess of the Agent Wagger lookalike and then back at Naruto. What did you do? I have no idea what you're talking about, Barton replied Naruto, uncaring about what he did to that poor spy. Yeah, you need to get to New York, and I need to use my talented eyes to make sure that Ms. Foster here remains in good health. Who did you leave in charge of the fort while I get transported there? Asked Naruto as he finished strapping in the scared shitless prisoner. I believe Fury left Agent Coulson in charge, but I could be wrong. Replied Agent Barton. I pray for my sake, Agent Coulson is the most square person that I've ever met. Well, according to Shield RULE number I kiss ass, you pants are 1/16 of an inch too long, the man is a walking textbook of rules and regulations. Barton shook his head and had a half smirk on his face as he listened to Naruto complain about his fellow agent. Yeah, as nice as it is to hear you bitch and moan, Whiskers. Fury wants you in New York in 45 minutes. You can talk to your boyfriend Barton another time. Called out Agent Maria Hill from the pilot seat of the vehicle. Agent Hill, I would not joke around with me like that, I've seen the curve of your booty. I am more than prepared to destroy that ass to prove that Barton isn't my boyfriend. Retorted Naruto as he threw Barton a wink before pushing him out the shield jet and sealing the hatch. That kid has some of the biggest balls that I've ever seen, said Barton to himself as he watched his fellow agents leave. The trip to New York was rather boring for the most part as they were blasting across the country at speeds that would make most normal jets seem like they were moving in slow motion. They were about 3 minutes from their target drop point when a radio emergency was called in. Hello, this is Agent Coulson, Shield Agent 174, we have a level 7 DTA, domestic terrorist attack, happening at Stark Industries. Naruto ripped the jet's communicator off of the holder and immediately slipped into his agent mode. I hear you Agent 174, this is Agent 613 replying to your call out. What is the estimated level of DPI, damage possible immediately? Agent 613, the DPI is estimated to be a 6.7 out of 10. Naruto winced and looked at Agent Hill who had a sick look on her face and he mouthed to her what is R-ADA. She held up 2 fingers as their speeds came very close to hitting 4 digits. Agent 174, R-ADA is 2, can you hang on until then? Agent 613, I have no other choice but to try to. And just like that, the line went dead and Naruto felt his concern grow before he shook his head and traveled into the back of the jet. Punching in his code, Naruto opened his weapon locker on the jets and slipped on all of his combat gear. Naruto, we are right above it, I am opening the hatch now. Good luck. Agent Hill, I don't need luck, but the enemy better pray that I have mercy today. That fucker didn't take a parachute, huffed Agent Hill. And just like that, Naruto jumped out of the back of the jet, free-falling through the air as he looked for whatever was the source of the attack. Looking down as he got closer, it became a little hard to miss, the giant robot suit swatting at the other robot suit. With trained skill, Naruto pulled his sword off of his back and held it with both hands pointing downward as he got closer and closer to the ground. SSSSSSFFFF. Naruto's sword didn't slice into the bigger of the 2 robot suits as he had planned. The sword barely managed to slice in an inch before it snagged and pulled Naruto to a halt as it became trapped in the suit. The man in the suit reached around and pulled the sword out of his back and brought it around to the front of his body, bring Naruto along with it. What in the hell are you doing here, boy? Where did you come from? Asked the old bald man in the giant suit. Naruto never got to answer as a smaller red and yellow version of the suit came and blasted energy at the bigger suit. The giant silver-suited man tossed Naruto to the side as he countered the yellow blast of the red and gold robot. Agent Whiskers, do not attack the red and gold robot, Tony Stark is in that suit, your mission is to protect him from any threat, Priority 18862, said Agent Coulson in his earpiece. Naruto grit his teeth and jumped to avoid an energy blast shot his way. Naruto looked as Stark spun in the air and was muttering something in his suit. Hey kid, can you hear me? Asked an unknown voice in his ear. Who is this? How did you get access to this radio wave? Asked Naruto as he rushed the silver giant, running in and out of pulse blasts sent his way. First, the encryption on your communicators is something that I could have hijacked in 1st grade. Second, this is the man in the red and gold suit, whoa, said Stark as he was forced to dunk a wave of bullets. Tony Stark. Why are you talking to me? Well, I don't know if you noticed the 2 of us are stuck fighting this ass who stole my personal chest arc reactor and then stole an ancient version of my suit. We need to find a way to talk him down. Naruto looked at Tony flying above him and suddenly had an idea. Can you conduct electricity through your suit into another object? Say this sword in my hand. Kid, is the sky blue, was the response from the billionaire. Well catch, said Naruto as he tossed his long sword into the air as Stark flew above him and caught the sword. The asshole in the silver suit first more blasts, but Stark used the sword to slice through most of them that were on target. You know, this whole sword thing is pretty neat, I might need to look into getting one of these for myself. Hey buddy, maybe you can think about what you want to purchase after we defeat the Iron Giant over here. Stark finally managed to get closer to the giant version of the suit and hit him with an extra powerful shoulder bump that sent the other suited person flying into the traffic not too far away. Naruto jumped over the barrier and down onto the same street as the silver enemy. Stark landed a second later and tossed Naruto back his sword. Naruto slid the sword back into its holder across his lower back and watched the giant suit picked up a car and threw it at Stark. Stark caught the car, straining his body and the suit. "Sir, you must put down the car at once, the arc reactor is now at only 19% strength, sir. If you continue at this pace, you will not win this fight." Naruto wasn't sure where the voice had come from, but it sounded like it was inside the suit as well as Stark. "I didn't realize that the suit was built for two, Stark." "Oh, that's right, you don't know Javris. Javris, this is some brat, this is Javris." The giant suit ended the conversation then by kicking Stark out from under the car and throwing the car at blistering speeds at Naruto. It was upon him before he could do anything other than brace himself for a painful death. Suddenly, it was like an explosion of energy inside of Naruto. He felt it pulse from his stomach and spread all throughout his body, filling him with renewed energy and strength. He arrived at his body and with instinct allow, he threw his hands out and grabbed the car, bring the momentum of the car to a halt. He placed the car on the ground and watched as it sped off. "Kid, is there any reason that you're glowing blue? I don't know what you're talking about, but get him back to that rooftop so we can end this." "Oh, you have a plan." I usually don't let other people plan things for me because you can only trust people smarter than you and there isn't anyone smarter than me." Meanwhile in the middle of nowhere Brazil. Bruce Banner had finished patching up the last of his patients for the evening and was closing up his pop-up office when he sneezed extremely violently, causing his eyes to flash green and Natasha from the mile away in her surveillance car to narrow her eyes. "Huh? I wonder what that was about. I guess someone was talking about me, hope only good things," muttered Banner to himself. Back at the plot. "I don't care what you think, get him to the roof and then you can question how smart I am later." "You don't have to be so mean, kid. I am start to bring him around back towards the Stark building now, be ready." And ready Naruto was as he climbed back onto the rooftop. He was looking out for Stark, hoping to team up with the asshole rich man who was fighting the same guy as him. Eventually he did spot Stark, only the silver-suited man was above to pile drive him from the sky into the rooftop. Naruto was unable to do anything as Stark was forcibly slammed into the roof, but wince and prepare himself for an all-out assault. Stark groaned and Naruto was pleased to hear that the man was still alive, but was not pleased to hear that his chest arc reactor was down to 3%. Break the mask of this guy, and his suit will be nearly useless without the guiding systems in the mask. "Will do, but Stark, sit this one out unless things are going very poorly for me." Stark didn't reply to Naruto, but he did roll away slowly, so Naruto took that as an agreement. Reaching into his side pocket of his vest, Naruto pulled out a single-use tiny emp and attached it to the end of his sword. Feeling the strong energy still pulsing through his body, Naruto rushed towards the silver man. Naruto ducked under a swipe of the hand before jumping onto the arm and using it as a springboard. Jumping over the suited man, Naruto twisted and slashed his sword across the mask of the silver man. The mask short-circuited and was forcibly ejected and Naruto finally realized who they were fighting. As he landed a medium distance away from the form of the giant silver suit, Naruto came face to face with Obadiah Stane. "You fucking brat. Do you have any idea of what you've done? You've managed to ruin a one-of-a-kind suit, the greatest invention of all time. It was made by yours truly," screamed Stane. "I thought Stark made that suit after you had him kidnapped by the 10 rings," said Naruto in an unimpressed tone of voice. "There you brat, I'll kill you." Once again the screaming done by Stane. Naruto didn't respond as he slid one foot forward and moved into his killing stance. Rushing forward again, Naruto was nearly a blur to the old man and he was upon Stane before he could do anything. Naruto was aiming for the head of Stane, but Stane managed to throw up a robotic arm in time to make Naruto's sword slash tear into the metal arm inside of Stane's flesh head. Naruto was stuck and received a punch to the stomach for his efforts to kill the traitorous bold man. "Kid, you might want to leave the roof." Naruto never got to answer Stark as the sword that had been stuck inside of Stane's stolen suit was thrust straight through his stomach. Coughing up a small lake of blood, Naruto's vision began to sway and fuzz over. Thump thump. Naruto, as dazed as he was at the life-threatening wound, was unable to pass out. His shield-trained mind wouldn't allow it. His mind was swimming as more and more blood leaked out of the massive stab wound on his torso and the constant stream that was being spat up. He saw Stane grab Tony and begin to crush him even while he was in his suit. Naruto at the age of 8 was having a stare down with fury, both having neutral faces. "Why do you even want to be a shield agent? You know that not everyone is let in, as we only take the best of the best." Naruto glared at the man and huffed. I want to be a SHIELD agent because everyone that I care about is a SHIELD agent. Fury seemed interested in this line of thinking and said, "Oh, and who would that be?" "Barton, he's like that loser uncle who has nothing better to do but hang out with his nephew, but I like him a lot. Agent Dan is always nice to me, he takes me for ice cream in my friend time and tells me stories about how he helped save the world. My teachers are also really cool and I like them a lot." That is a group of 6 people. I don't think that is a reason to join the rest of them in a group that is extremely dangerous to be a part of. 7, the number is 7 Fury. But you only listed 6 people, Agents Barton and Dan, along with your 4 instructors. I didn't know that you didn't count yourself as a person that I care about Fury. Fury's eye widens, but Naruto continued on talking. I know that SHIELD doesn't do only the nice stuff, but some dark things as well. You have to take risks if it can help the many if the risk is the few. But, I want to help the world, I want to be able to say that I gave it my all. I will think about it Naruto. And with that Fury left Naruto, exiting the room. Naruto blinked as he re-entered the land of the living, having suffered a lapse in thoughts. As his mind sorted through the pain of the stabbing and regathered itself, he began to put together a plan. Taking as deep a breath as he could, Naruto reached into the inside lining of his shield vest and pulled out a small electric blade. Using what little strength he had left, Naruto used his left hand to pull his long sword out of the roof beneath him and out of his body. "Aye," screamed Naruto as the pain increased tenfold. Feeling his body starting to go numb, Naruto activated the electric blade and waited a couple of seconds as it heated up. Taking a small breath, Naruto placed the blade over his stab wound and hissed as his wound was burned closed. Immediately, the blood flow throughout his body started to level out and Naruto rolled over and did the same for the backside of the wound. His vision blacked out for a second, but Naruto got to his hands and knees and saw that Stain was taunting a downed Stark. "Kid, has been an absolute shitty time knowing you, but I would jump off the roof if you can now. The arc reactor is about to be blow and it's going to fry everything up here, machine and human alike." Naruto scoffed and with his limited amount of energy, pulled out his last resort. From his hip, Naruto removed his standard shield gun with a silencer attachment and aimed at the exposed face of Stain. The second that he had a shot, Naruto fired off 3 bullets in rapid succession. One at the current location of Stain, followed by one that was slightly to left and one that was slightly to the right. Without his mask to warn him of the danger, Stain never saw nor heard the bullets until they were leaving the back of his head. Stain and the suit collapsed backwards and Naruto crawled over to Stark. "Kid, I could kiss you. I would prefer that you don't," said Naruto as he summoned the emergency shield medical staff from his wristwatch. "Actually, we still need to leave roof because Stark never got to finish his sentence as the rooftop exploded in massive of electricity a couple days later. "I am Iron Man," said Tony Stark to a press conference with his arm in a sling. Click. With a sigh, Fury turned off the TV and turned back to the other person in the room. Fury was looking at an almost perfectly healthy Naruto who only had a black eye. But that was recently as Natasha didn't appreciate the multiple near-death experiences by the blonde shield agent. "Well Naruto, you've managed to complete your mission. You've successfully stopped Stain and Stark didn't die either. Don't know how you managed to pull that off, but you did. Get some rest, I have a couple of more assignments lined up for you. Before when you were in the probation period of being a shield agent, you weren't going to be getting so many missions. However with the recent high-profile mission that you've completed, the people upstairs are curious as to what you can do. Now, I know that you've trained for this, but there is a reason that I didn't allow you to become a shield agent until you were 16. You are still young, don't allow SHIELD to become your total life." "I understand sir." "Good, I'll be sure to let the others know that you can take visitors." As Fury walked out, not seconds later Natasha walked in followed by Barton and Hill, all of which looked happy to see him with Fury. Fury walked into a private room and saw that Stark was waiting for him. "How are you doing Mr. Stark, or should I say Iron Man?" Tony Winston said, "You know, I don't know what I am doing here. I've never even heard of SHIELD nor have I met anyone from it." "That's not true now, Stark. That kid that fought alongside of you on the rooftop was a SHIELD agent. And we've sent Agent Coulson to visit you multiple times, you just kept blowing him off." The name Coulson sounds familiar, but I would have to ask my assistant. "And really, that kid was yours? Impressive work. Hey, can I buy him off of you?" "He's not for sale, he's a normal person who works for us like everyone else." "Okay, so why am I here?" Fury dropped a folder on the table and Stark looked at the file that had a large A on it. "What is this?" questioned Stark. "Why don't you read it and find out deep inside of SHIELD's base?" The red-haired agent answered her communicator and once again found herself face to face with the board of directors for SHIELD. "Agent, why have you not established a relationship with the subject?" asked Male Director 1. "Well sir, Fury seemed to have sniffed out the play and forced us to never meet. He was assigned some other partner and then never spent any time with her either. That does seem rather unfortunate for you, Agent. We want results, and soon," said Male Director 2. "I am trying, but I can't not do my job or I will never make it close to the subject." "That is understood, but we don't care. Either find a connection with the subject or we will be forced to take more drastic measures, Agent," said Male Director 3. "Understood," said the red-haired agent. "Good, do not disappoint us again, Agent," said the lone female director. The grunt was heard. 79. Another grunt. 80. Another one. 81. There was no grunt this time as the man doing pull-ups looked towards the door to the gym open and in step a figure. 82. The man doing the workout continued. "So, you're just going to act like I'm not here?" 87. The out of working continued with no signs of stopping. "I get what happened to you wasn't ideal, but things like that happen. You can't avoid that type of stuff working in this organization." There was no response other than the guy doing the pull-ups continuing his count. 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. The figure doing the pull-ups dropped down to the ground and said, "Listen, Clint, I don't know what you want from me, but I don't have time to talk to you." Really, you don't have time to talk to me? Have an assignment. You know how Fury runs the ship here, Clint, non-stop working. Really? Because Fury has you blacklisted from taking any missions until you deal with whatever it is that you are going through. You can lie to everyone else, you can lie to yourself, but you can't lie to me, Naruto. Naruto glared at Clint, saying nothing as he didn't know what to say. "Sit down, Naruto, you're going to listen to what I have to say." "Excuse me? You heard what I said, Stark. Sit down." The forceful words of Nick Fury. "Geez, no need to yell," muttered Tony Stark as he sat at the table that was in the room. "You really are a pain in my ass, Stark, do you know that? Look, Fury, I have no idea what this is about, but I have places to be, money to spend, and women too. I don't care about what you do in your time, Stark, but there are certain things that we have to talk about." "Well, lay it on me, Fury." "I'm all ears," said Stark as he leaned back in his chair. "You were given a file on a project for a group of my own design." "Yes, the Avengers Initiative program, which was very fascinating, but a little unrealistic," says the guy who built himself a robotic suit in a cave with pieces of scrap metal. "Okay, Fury, I am willing to play ball, what do you want from me? Do you really want me leading the group? A group of 4 people who don't seem like they are all willing to buy into the whole team thing. The kid was amazing on the roof, I will give you that. You did a great job, but that green bean from down south, he is uncontrollable. Nothing can stop him, you remember that news report from about 3 or 4 years ago? He destroyed that base in Colorado, imagine what he would do in Chicago, La, or New York City. You put him in a city and he'll leave nothing but a pile of dusty rubble behind. Also, part of your group is a girl who can do what exactly? Fight well. The kid lifted a car, the green giant could eat the car, and I can build the car. What would she do other than drive the car? You don't understand, Stark. Why don't you start to explain then, Fury countered the genius billionaire. Why don't I start from the beginning, Stark? Do you know who founded S.H.I.E.L.D.? Asked Fury as he looked the annoying rich asshole in the eye. It started up after World War II. My dad said something about it. He said it was needed for a world where I didn't need to see the things that he saw. Rambled on Tony Stark as his mind was filled flashbacks of his father. Fury gave a short nod, impressed with Tony's ability to recall a throwaway phrase from 20 to 30 odd years ago. Well, Stark, that is a start, but that is just the start. S.H.I.E.L.D. was formed shortly after World War II as a successor to the Strategic Scientific Reserve (SSR), an Allied deep science agency which fought against the Nazi-sponsored Special Weapons Division Hydra during the war. The founders of this agency were Chester Phillips, the director of the SSR, Howard Stark, the greatest industrialist of great wealth, who was also the scientific genius who masterminded all of it for his time, but you probably called him Dad, and Margaret Peggy Carter, the former partner of the American war hero Steve Rogers, better known as Captain America. When Fury had started the history lesson, Tony had retreated into his mind, ignoring the super spy commander. It was only when the name Howard Stark got mentioned that Stark all but demanded that his brain pay attention to what the man had to say. Looking at Fury in the eye, Tony grew extremely serious. Okay, director, that whole Avengers thing had my interest, it was something to think about. But this, what you just said, that has my attention. You wanted me on board, well guess what, Fury? You couldn't get rid of me now, even if you tried. Fury leaned back in his chair and said, I'm glad that you've decided to lend S.H.I.E.L.D. your expertise as a technological genius, Stark. Now what would you like to know? Stark leaned forward, over the table and replied with everything that you can. But Naruto and Clint. The stare-off had lasted more time than Naruto or Clint would ever want to admit that they wasted. The silence that accompanied it didn't make the situation any better. Okay, enough, Naruto. I don't understand what your issue is, so why don't you just tell me? My issue is literally what just happened was and Naruto didn't get to finish as the door to the gym opened and in walked the always very fine Natasha Romanoff. Hey boys, sorry to break up your little heart-to-heart crying session, but we got a mission that needs to be handled right now. Clint groaned before he looked and pointed at Naruto, we're going to finish this when I get back from this. Naruto made a face and Natasha raised an eyebrow. Hold it there buddy, the mission is for the boy wonder and I. Clint and all of his confidence dropped the ground while Naruto laughed and pointed at the older SHIELD agent on the ground. Okay Whiskers, let's go. Naruto followed the attractive agent out of the gym and through the halls of the helicarrier. So what is mission Natasha? Asked Naruto. Well imagine that you were about to face a faster, stronger, smarter, and more flexible version of me because that is our mission. Replied the red-haired beauty. Naruto stopped and frowned, unsure that he wanted to fight the current Natasha, let alone a physically superior version of his friend and fellow agent. And we have to kill her? He asked. Maybe, that all depends on if we can get what we want and if she is willing to give it to us. Replied Nat now, hurry up and grab some stuff from your room, I want to move before the information expires. Naruto slipped down the hall and into his room, grabbed one of his pre-packed duffel bags. When he exited his room, he came face to face with a girl. A somewhat pretty girl as well, with her fiery orange hair, bright green eyes, flawless skin, and a natural cute face. Hi, my name is Stacy, I am from the logistics department. I really just needed your expense reports for the last year. Said the newly named Stacy. Naruto turned around and grabbed a thick folder off of his bedside nightstand and handed it to the smiling Reed. Here you go, Stacy said Naruto before he made to move around her, but he accidentally bumped into the small 5'1" 147-pound girl, sending her to the ground. Naruto dropped his bag on the ground and rushed to help the downed girl up. I am so sorry exclaimed Naruto as he pulled the petite girl back to her feet. It's no problem said Stacy as she pressed her hand into Naruto's muscle-covered chest, you're pretty strong, I mean you have a very solid body. The words left Stacy's mouth and she turned a bright red, but Naruto didn't get to reply Naruto. Info. Expire. Plain. Your ass. Now screamed Natasha from down the hall. That snapped Naruto out of his brain meltdown, so he picked up his bag and rushed off down the hall. With Naruto and Natasha rushing off, neither one of them were around to see the scowl that graced the face of Stacy. Her anger boiling over at the sight of Naruto and Natasha running off together, it would only make her job harder in the long run because Naruto didn't sign his paperwork. With Naruto and Natasha. Natasha had fired up the shield jet and taken off before Naruto even managed to put his bag away. So, do you mind telling me some more details about this mission? Asked Naruto as he finally managed to get into the co-pilot seat. Natasha glanced at him but didn't say anything as she engaged the autopilot for the jet. She got up and slipped into the back, but Naruto refused to get up when he just sat down. She returned with a folder, a very thick folder. Everything in that you need to learn is in that folder. I would normally just talk about it, but I want you to read all of the information in there. Don't ask me anything until you've read everything in there. I can answer anything you want after you finish that. Naruto listened to Natasha and all of his questions died in his throat. He just shrugged and looked at the folder and read the title on the first page. Yelena Belova, Black Widow. Location unknown. Somewhere in space. A young adult-looking male human dropped down from the sky. Landing on one knee and one foot, the red ground below him cracked with the force of his landing. Standing up, he noticed the numerous figures, all pointing what looked like their version of spears at him. The human-looking man chuckled lightly at these so-called threat that these people thought that they posed to him. The orange figures with their large heads and tiny bodies were not a match for him or his might. Think of orange mega minds. You fools know not what threaten, you should not mess what you know not, said the young male human-looking figure. Several of the aliens spoke in a clicking language and the human-looking figure laughed. Surrender? Why would I surrender when I am not in danger? Was his response. The spear flew at him and he pulled out his weapon of choice from his side and batted away the wooden and stone-made weapon. The snarl ripped through his throat and he raised his weapon into the air and lightning crackled all throughout the dark sky before it came down and hit the weapon in the human-like figure's hand. With a roar, he slammed his weapon down into the ground and caused the world to shake with the power that he unleashed. The lightning caused cracks to tear up the ground, causing many of the orange aliens to fall as the ground became uneven. Lifting his weapon out of the ground caused the lightning that was tearing through the ground to rise up through the cracks, attacking the aliens who attacked him first. The orange aliens were quickly defeated and the male stopped his lightning-based attack and looked at all of the downed injured aliens. Just then a burst of multicolored light crashed down next to him. Brother, are you done here? Asked the dark-haired male figure, the person who had come in the burst of light. Loki? What are you doing here? asked the light-haired male figure, asking his dark-haired brother Loki. Father had sent me to make sure that you accomplished what you were sent to do. So, I will ask you again, Thor. Did you finish? Asked Loki. Mumbled Thor. Did you free the Agami from the Losha? Which was which again? Did you free the orange people from the purple people? Said Loki before he looked around and sighed as he noticed all of the large-headed orange aliens on the ground. Let's clean this up, said Loki as he got prepared to help clean up Thor's mess again for the 33rd time this year. It was only March. Back with Natasha and Naruto somewhere near Europe. Naruto wasn't someone who tended to get surprised. He was a very capable thinker, S.H.I.E.L.D. made him that way, and he was always thinking of new things. New things such as new ways to train, new strategies to attack people, new fighting moves, new ways to interrogate people, and new ways to develop himself, whether through his newfound chakra ability or standard mental physical instinctual developments. But what he had read in the folder, it was very much inhumane to do so to any human being. When he had started his reading on the folder that contained information on Yelena Belova, the new USSR Black Widow, Naruto wasn't expecting what he read. The tortures, both mental and physical. They would tie her up and beat the shit out of her until she was on death's door, only to heal her up and repeat the process until her body hardened and became able to endure more than any human could, making her physically tougher than 99.9% of the world. To make her mentally tougher, they would mentally impact the idea of her being pregnant via rape into her mind before simulating the termination of said baby. It was a terribly inhumane manner of training that Naruto found to be a very cruel and unusual tactic as the pregnant body of a female begins to produce oxytocin, the love hormone. They basically waited until her brain chemically forced her into emotionally loving the unborn baby before forcibly removing it from her body. That combined both of these methods when they decided that they should just sterilize her at the ripe age of 17. She was mentally and physically destroyed time and time again, only to rebuild her again and again. Whatever they did, it worked because she was basically Natasha Romanoff 2.0. Where Natasha was a solid 5'5", Yelena Belova was 5'7". Where Natasha had 7% body fat, Yelena Belova was at a staggering low 3.7%. Where Natasha ran a 4.8 40-yard dash, Yelena Belova ran a 4.4, closer to Naruto's 4.2 than Natasha's 4.8. Where Natasha had an IQ of 158, Yelena Belova was all the way up there at 177, on the scale to 200, on the 150 scale, Nat was at 113, and Ib was at 131. Yelena Belova really was, as Natasha said, a faster, stronger, smarter version of Natasha. And while Naruto wasn't sure how flexible Natasha was, based on the picture of Yelena Belova, he wouldn't mind finding out just how much more flexible. However, despite everything that he read in the folder, there was just one thing that didn't add up. Naruto was never the most intrusive guy, he didn't care about people's past, as long as they were okay now, and their past didn't come back to haunt them and S.H.I.E.L.D. But in the few times that Natasha and Naruto had talked about their pasts, she had mentioned something called the Red Room. Well, that isn't exactly the most pleasant sounding place in the world, Naruto had brushed it off as the name of building or wing, but it kept coming up all throughout the information on Yelena Belova. Once is just chance, twice is a coincidence, thrice is a trend, 4 times is enemy action, 5 or more times is direct war. That was the twisted S.H.I.E.L.D. version of the Moscow rules. Hey Nat, we're friends, right? Asked Naruto as he broke the several hours long silent streak. Natasha bit her lip and her eyebrows burrowed together as she thought of the possible conversations that could follow Naruto's question. Well, you're a little on the annoying side, but yeah. We are friends, Whiskers. Answered Natasha in a calm voice as she still tried to figure out where this was going. I'm glad to hear that because I care about you a lot. And not just you, but Clint as well. For as long as I can remember, the two of you, first Clint and then later you, were all that I've had outside of my S.H.I.E.L.D. training mission and then S.H.I.E.L.D. active roster missions. Muttered Naruto as his emotions were unable to remain buried. Are you okay, Naruto? You've been different ever since that mission that involved Stark. Asked Natasha. If I can be completely honest with you, it feels different waking now than it did before. Is it because of the fact Natasha didn't get to finish as Naruto cut her off? It has everything to do with almost dying. I rarely get hurt and if I do it is usually nothing more than a scrape or a cut. But to almost die, feeling my body numb up, feeling the light-headed feeling as the view of the world got darker and darker. To feel my blood leaking out by the pint, it was a wake-up call. Rambled on Naruto as he tried to put his emotions and thoughts in words that would do justice to what he was feeling. Naruto, we've all been through something like that before, those moments happen. What you need to do is determine whether you will allow the thought and the fear dying hinder you, break you. Or will you use it as fuel, something that will allow you to rebuild yourself, better than ever? Naruto nodded and before he could think about it said, it really makes me amazed at Clint, he's just an average guy. He doesn't have a foreign energy source pumping through his veins. And he isn't a super solider experiment like you are, am I right, Natasha? His question surprised Natasha more than anything else that he had said so far on the mission trip. Her neck snapped towards Naruto and looked at him in the face, with wonder on her face. "What did you just say?" she asked. Naruto didn't wait in repeating himself, "You're a super solider experiment, Natasha." "What makes you think that?" she asked again, trying to wrap her head around this sudden change in direction of the conversation. "Well, you mentioned the Red Room before as the place that helped form your skill set, well Yelena Belova also was trained there. And all of the things that were done to her seemed to have been reported by someone who knew exactly how they happened. It was as if the person who reported all of this information had gone through the same exact situation and torture. I couldn't help but wonder, who do I know that has ever even mentioned this Red Room place? Well, it was the one and only Natasha Romanoff. What really tipped me off was the way that you described her, a better version of yourself. The issue with that is that you have proven to be the best time and time again, and you're not exactly Miss Modest in terms of praising your own skills. Which leads me to my next point, in the files on Yelena Belova, it mentions that she was experimented on to try and become the Soviets' version of Captain America. Suddenly, it all clicks for me. You're both from the same training place or experiment lab, the personal style of the torture descriptions, the way that you described her, and the immediate rush to put her down. She's basically who you used to be, but with enhancements. Natasha groaned at the long explanation that Naruto provided, mostly because of how correct that it was. Also because of how fast that he put it together, they hadn't even started the mission yet and he already had figured it out. So, she did what she could and groaned before saying, "Sometimes, I really hate S.H.I.E.L.D. for making you into this world-class super spy. You've basically got it right except for a couple of minor details." Naruto didn't look happy and all he could do was look at Natasha with a very sad expression on his face. "So, how long have you known that you could never have children?" Natasha frowned. "For around the same amount of time that I wished that I could one day start a family in my life after S.H.I.E.L.D. With Clint and a generic-ass S.H.I.E.L.D. strike team. Clint had learned many things in his 11 years of spy work, some things applied to life, and others were just useless in all areas of life. The key to being a really good and competent spy was being able to learn new things, something that Clint sometimes struggled with. They say you learn something new every day, Clint just learned something new today. When your partner is off on a mission and she doesn't take you, maybe you don't complain to your boss that she picked another agent over you. Because all he hears is that you want a mission and don't have one. So, what does he do? He gives you the shittiest one that he could find by sending you and 4 nobodies to the middle of nowhere, South America. "You know, I didn't go to medical school for this," said one of the new strike team members. "Charles, do us all a big favor and shut the fuck up," said Agent Castle, a sandy-haired white man who had been a strike team leader for close to 8 years. Clint decided now was the moment that he impart the mission details to the rest of these guys, mostly because he didn't want to be the only person capable of doing the mission. Not only would that make everything harder to accomplish, it wouldn't make sense to bring 4 other guys with him if they didn't serve a purpose. "Okay, listen up ladies. Our objective is not a complicated one. We are simply here to observe and report." Generic strike team member number 1 smirked and said, "I love that movie. Hell, I like anything with Seth Rogen." Clint made a face and said, "Yeah no, that has nothing to do with the mission at hand. Do any of you remember the thing that destroyed a bunch of Colorado and Utah a couple of years ago? It was big and green." Getting a round of nods, Clint continued on. "Well, it has regressed back to its normal human form. The name is Bruce Banner, the scientist. We were monitoring him when he was traveling through rural American towns, but for some reason he decided that he was going to come down here to South America. Fury wants us to find out why he is down here and if possible, don't let him green out on the people down here." Getting another round of nods, Clint sighed as he had no idea how troublesome this mission was going to be. It would lead to him just enjoying every moment that Natasha went on a mission by herself or took someone else with her. Let's just say, South America and Agent Clint Barton will not be a mutual positive experience for anyone on the mission. But then again, you win some and you lose some, but you can't spell Clint without using a L. In the S.H.I.E.L.D. base. Stacy answered the S.H.I.E.L.D. board of directors summons through her wristwatch. "Board members, what can I do for you today?" "You can start by giving us an update on your progress," stated male board member number 1. "I've made contact with the target, I even engaged in conversation and made physical contact with the target," reported the red-haired agent. "Good, we expect more of the same progress in the next report," said the lone female board member. "Actually, the target was assigned a long-term mission with Agent Romanoff," said Stacy as she tried to lower expectations for her next week report. "Well, all that means is that you need to throw yourself at him harder than you have before," said male board member number 2. "I will do what I can," said Stacy before they hung up on her. "Odd, I hate people," muttered Stacy as she started getting ready for bed. When you are a world-class super spy who lives life on the intersection of danger and death, you probably would develop a sixth sense about danger. Or at least that is what Naruto thought would happen, because he didn't feel like anything was wrong until the missile slammed into the right side of the shield jet and blasted it out of the sky. Naruto would however give credit to Natasha for managing to turn what should have been certain death into a crash landing that only resulted in a severe pair of concussions for both Naruto and his red-haired coworker. It was still a total shit show of a landing. The jet crashed at an angle that flipped the flying craft. Naruto flipped out of the seat and was flung backwards through the plane. Naruto crashed back first into the side of the plane as the crash-proof jet. The jet finally came to a stop and Naruto could hear cars pulling up to the crashed jet. His head was swimming and his vision blurred behind being able to see, but he was still able to hear people board the crashed jet. As he sat there dazed, Naruto was unable to do anything other than glance up at the Russian soldier who entered the wreckage and slammed the butt of his gun into the head of the still barely conscious blonde interdimensional traveler. The blow sent the shield agent's head whipping back and into the land of dreams. "Grab him," he vant to see his spoke one of the commanding officers to his Russian underling before he searched the rest of the jet. He entered the cockpit and saw Natasha and smiled. "Natasha Romanaka, the Black Widow, you are a sight for sour eyes, you traitorous bitch." With Clint and his squad. Brazil was interesting in the sense that you didn't know what to expect. There was a massive city in the middle of the forest-filled region. The city was about as modern as it could get with skyscrapers, cars, Starbucks, hotels, and businesses. The edge of the city. There was a massive stacking of shed-like buildings stacked on top of each other. A massive clutter that didn't make sense because of the normal city that it was so close. "Agent Hawkeye, what have you seen today?" said Fury over the radio. "Well, Fury, I haven't seen anything that would raise concern about Banner down here. He mostly just treats people of common things like flu and chest colds before turning in for the day," reported Barton. Well, if anything changes, I want to know yesterday," stated Fury. "Absolutely, sir," said Clint before his sharp eyes picked up a face known to him. Pressing the radio again to speak to Fury, Clint spoke. "Sir, did you know that General Ross is down here?" Fury was no pleased by that as he screamed "Motherfucker" over the radio before he gave Clint his orders. "I don't care if you have to put a bullet in his head, you keep Ross away from Banner. I refuse to let Banner go green because Ross is an idiot who doesn't know when to leave something alone," ordered Fury. "Your words are my actions, sir," said Clint as he pulled out his sniper and aimed it at the United States of America general. With Tony Stark in New York. There were many things that could change your perspective on life. Almost dying was one of them. Finding out that your dad was a founder of the greatest spy agency of all time while realizing that you didn't really know him was another. A combination of them both was what was wreaking havoc on Tony's mind. Opening the file that contained information on Howard Stark and his role in S.H.I.E.L.D., Tony looked at the same information that he had already read more than 4 times. It was reading the file where Colonel James Rhodes found Tony. "Knock knock," said Rhodes. "You said knock knock when you could have actually just knocked on the door," said Tony without looking up. "Are you busy?" asked Rhodes upon seeing the lack of attention that he was getting from Tony. Tony closed the file and slid it into a safe-like drawer of his desk before looking up at his friend. "No, I was just reading something interesting," said Tony. "Oh, what is it about?" asked the colonel. "That depends, what do you know about S.H.I.E.L.D.?" Tony said, answering a question with a question. Colonel James Rhodes' face turned extremely serious and he looked at Tony in the eyes and asked him, "Where did you hear about that organization, Tony?" "You remember my battle on the top of the Stark power plant with that huge arc reactor? Well, one of the reasons that I survived is that there was this kid, no older than 16, fought side by side with me. He said that he was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. You got to be careful around them, Tony. S.H.I.E.L.D. is a bit unique." "Really? They seem to be doing the same job as just about every other organization," commented Tony. "Sure, they do the same job, trying to make sure that this world doesn't tear itself apart. However, they go about it completely differently. They use tactics and methods that are less than morally okay. They are cold and ruthless with their actions, all on the orders of a man who doesn't have the best track record," said Rhodes with an air of disgust. "I wouldn't get on a high horse, I know all about the operations in the Middle East," said Tony. "Tony, the United States Army is," started Rhodes. "Doing the same amount of shady shit that everyone else is doing. The difference is they don't justify it by saying that America knows best," stated Tony. Rhodes didn't say anything in response and Tony turned back to his desk looking away from his friend. "You came here for a reason, Rhodey, either say why you are here or leave." "Never mind, Tony, we can discuss this on a later date," said Colonel Rhodes before he left. Tony sighed and then in a fit of rage, swept everything off of his desk. "Jarvis, contact Ms. Potts," Tell her to have someone come to my office and clean up the mess that I made." "At once, sir," replied the AI assistant. "I need a drink," mumbled Tony as he left. Back in Russia. Naruto woke up and greeted to a lowly lit room. "Does your head hurt as much as mine?" asked the familiar voice of Natasha to his right. Naruto's brain jump-started and he started to look around as he realized that he was chained to the wall. "Where are we?" asked Naruto. "We seem to be somewhere inside the country of Russia from what I can understand. The people here are speaking Russian and this prison holding cell looks a lot like the ones that I saw when I worked with the Soviets. I would guess that we are right outside of Kazan based on the accents and the black used in this room," answered Natasha. It is said that former Soviet spy codename Black Widow is the world's greatest spy. It is interesting to hear how you managed to pinpoint your location from the way that my men speak and the stone used to craft the building. Clearly the praises of your mental prowess and capabilities have been underrated," said a figure who came morphing out of the shadows of the room. Unless they were just waiting in the corner of the room for both of us to wake up, the door is directly behind him," thought Naruto. "Do you know why you are here?" asked the voice of the man still cloaked in the shadows of the dark room. "Because you shot us down when we flying over Russian air and then decided to bring us here," answered Naruto. "Well, that is true, care to take a better guess?" "You didn't kill us, which must mean that you want something from us, whether it be information or some kind of service," said Natasha. "Correct. It just leads me to ask, what do you want from us?" "I want you, the infamous Black Widow," asked the figure. "Me?" questioned Natasha. "Yes, you. What do you want from her?" asked Naruto. "It does not concern the likes of you, child. This is adult business," said the man in the shadows in a harsh tone. "Do you wish to use me?" asked Natasha. "In any way that I want," answered the voice. "But why would you wait for me to awake to make a move on me?" "Because what gets better than the deadliest woman in the world submitting to you like the bitch that she is?" "And what of my friend here? You either submit and you both live or you resist and I kill him and take my hand at forcing you to submit to me." "I'll do it," said Natasha. "Excellent choice," said the figure before a clicking sound was heard and Natasha was electrocuted into unconsciousness. The figure came out of the shadows and Naruto saw the man for the first time. He was tall, easily around 6 foot 3 inches tall. He had pale skin, as to be expected of someone who lived in the sun-lacking country of Russia. He had a flat top hairstyle and a thick mustache that were both a dark brown. His blue eyes were as cold as the weather in Russia. He was wearing a Russian military uniform that showed that he was a general. He walked right up to Naruto and looked him in the eye. Blue meeting blue, both as cold as they could be. The general broke the staring contest when he leaned into Naruto's ear and spoke. "I want you to know, after I ruin the body of Natasha Romanoff for my own pleasure, I am going to come get you and kill you in front of her before killing her," whispered the Russian general. "You know, you should never tell people your plan before you kill them, they could stop it. You are in chains, boy, I do not fear you. Now I must go, I have fucking and killing to do now," said the general before he turned and left the room. Seconds later a group of Solider came in and released Natasha from the chains before rebinding her and leaving with her body. They didn't both to shock Naruto, wanting him to know what was about to happen. Naruto felt helpless. His training had failed him, he was captured and defeated by a pair of metal chains. "You could not get any more parhelic if you tried, huh?" whispered the same dark voice that he had heard in Fury's office. "Who are you? Where are you? Why can I hurt you?" asked Naruto looking around the empty room for the source of the voice, but finding nobody but himself in the large room. "I thought that you were some kind of super spy," questioned the voice. Naruto didn't answer as he tried to think of the things in common between the last time that he heard this voice and this time that he was hearing the voice. But the only thing that he could find that was in common was himself. "You are an inside of me," said Naruto as he tried to put the pieces together. "Ah, so the boy genius manages to put it together at last," came the heavy sarcasm by the voice inside of Naruto. "So why are you talking to me now?" asked Naruto. "Oh, did you have a plan that I missed you making before I stumbled into your pity party?" asked the voice. No, I did not have a plan per se, but I was thinking of one," said Naruto trying to protect his ego a bit. "Kid, you can't lie to me. I can detect negative emotions and every time that you lie I can feel it. I know that you were ready to throw in the towel as that guy had his way with the girl before killing you both. But I am here to help you," said the voice. "Oh? And how do you plan on doing that?" asked Naruto. The voice didn't respond, leaving Naruto to simply hang there. Apparently, he wouldn't be getting any help from the strange voice in his head. Naruto blinked and when he opened his vision was shrinking, it was being overrun by pure blackness. When the last of his vision was nothing but darkness, Naruto blinked again and suddenly he was not inside of the room that he was before, he was now inside of a water-filled sewer. "Where the hell am I? How did I get here?" asked Naruto as he looked around the sewer. "I brought you to me, we are inside of your mind," called out the same voice as before. Naruto heard where the voice was coming from, it was down the hall. He started to make his way towards what he believed was the source of the voice. "You are getting closer," hissed the voice as Naruto entered a large room. It was mostly the same as every hallway that Naruto had passed through. It was mostly empty with ankle-high water flooding the room. The walls were lined with a series of pipes. However, there was something different about this room. In the back of the room, there was a large gate. It stretched higher than Naruto could see and wider than larger than Naruto could see. On the gate was a single piece of paper that had some symbols on it that made up something Naruto couldn't make out from his current distance. Moving closer, Naruto was able to read that the paper said seal on it. Behind the gate, Naruto was able to make out a giant figure in the background of the vast room. The figure looked at Naruto, and Naruto saw a pair of cold blood red eyes meet his cold blue eyes. The figure rushed forward and crashed into the gate. Naruto didn't flinch at the large figure crashing, nor did he flinch when a massive set of claws came out of the gaps in the gate. The claws stopped right in front of Naruto, who didn't move. He simply looked up the length of the claw. The claw retracted back into the gate and the figure huffed. "You didn't move or flinch at all. Oh, you're no fun," said the massive figure behind the gate before it plopped down on the ground. Naruto took a moment to take in the entire figure for the first time and saw that it was a giant fox. Not just any normal giant fox, this one also had 9 waving tails behind it. "You're a fox," stated Naruto. "Was I supposed to be something different?" asked the giant fox. "I don't know," answered Naruto honestly before he asked the fox. "You said this is my head, so why are you inside of my head?" "I have been here since the night that you were born. I was sealed into your body by the 4th Hokage," said the giant fox. "Oh, okay. So, what is a Hokage?" asked Naruto. "You know nothing about your world. That is more annoying than if you were a loudmouth idiot," snarled the oversized fox. "You said 4th Hokage, which means that there were others. That means this could have been some kind of elected official or leader of some kind," said Naruto, trying to put the pieces together. Close enough. He was the 4th leader of your home village. The Hokage was the leader of the village hidden in the leaves, or the Hidden Leaf Village for short, said the fox. "Not that I don't mind the exposition, but why are you telling me this? What purpose does this serve me at the moment?" questioned Naruto. "What a cheeky brat, you are but an insect in front of a god, yet you question me. I am telling you about your home village because it is the key to you escaping," said the fox. "Really, how? What is a history lesson going to do for me?" The large fox rolled its eyes and said, "Where do you think those books about chakra came from? Where do you think that ability of yours to use chakra came from? Everything special about you came from the village that you come from." "Sure, the ability to use chakra to enhance my physical attributes is interesting, but that doesn't help me in this situation. I need a way to break free of these chains and save my friend," retorted Naruto. "I would watch my tone if I was speaking to the only thing that can save me and my friend's life. I am trying to help you, whether you want to believe it or not. There are so many other uses for chakra besides just physical enhancements. You can use it to manipulate the elements, to shape the world around you, to pull the moon of the sky if you desired. Hell, with the amount of chakra that you have, you could pull the chain and the wall apart," hissed the large fox. "Well, unless I get a master crash course on how to do any of those things, I don't have the time needed to learn any of those things. I need to be able to free myself now and then save my friend," complained Naruto. "Your voice continues to test my nerves. You wish to have power. Well then you have come to the correct place for that. I am the Kyuubi no Yoko, the most powerful being in the universe. Somewhere out in space. Amora, you need to eat or you'll be too weak to train tomorrow," complained the Mad Titan before he sneezed loudly. Back in Naruto's mind. "If it is power that you want, it is power that you will get. Come closer, kid, so that I can make any and all issues that you have right now disappear," whispered the fox. Naruto, seeing no choice, walked forward towards the gate. Water rises underneath Naruto, raising him closer to the seal on the gate. "Do you want me to rip that paper off?" asked Naruto. "No, child, that is not needed today. Maybe in the future, we can explore that. However, for the moment all that we need to do is for me to touch you," explained the fox. Naruto nodded and the same giant claw from before managed to slip through the gate again. This time it did not come rushing out at Naruto, but instead slowly came towards him. It stopped right in front of his forehead before a pulsing red energy covered the massive claw. The fox touched Naruto on the forehead and the energy jumped into the avatar of Naruto. Naruto opened his mouth in a silent scream before he felt a burning sensation all throughout his body. He fell to his hands and knees before he let out an inhumane roar. "Good luck, brat, don't kill anyone you don't mean to," said the fox before the vision of sword disappeared. Naruto opened his eyes and he was back in the same stone room as before. He didn't know it, but his hair had grown longer and wilder, his eyes were blood red with a slitted pupil. His canines were longer and poking out of his mouth. His nails had curled and turned into claws. He let out a roar and ripped his arms free of the wall, the chains still wrapped around his wrist. He took 2 steps forward before the chains around his ankles were ripped free of the wall as well. Naruto snarled as a guard entered the room before he jumped towards the man. Flushing, Queens. A large crowd were in a large arena watching a group of female cheerleaders dancing on stage. They wore red and gold suits that said Stark Industries in gold letters. The crowd cheered as the girls finished their routine. A voice was heard throughout the arena now, "Give it up for Tony Stark." The crowd let out a roar of approval as Tony in an Iron Man suit came down from the sky and landed on the stage in front of the cheerleaders. "Hello ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to get the party started?" asked Tony as the crowd screamed yes. "Well then, let's get this Stark Expo started then." "Sir, I believe that we found something," said a Genetic Shield office agent. This caused Director Fury to look up from his report and at the agent. Said agent didn't continue on with the results of what they found, drawing the ire of Fury. "Well, are you waiting for an invitation to continue, Agent Sanchez?" snapped Fury. "I'm sorry sir, but per your request we had revisited the area that we had found the Tesseract, only to discover that several thousand feet to the north, there was body." "Sir, we have found the body of Steve Rogers, we found Captain America sir," stated Agent Sanchez. "So you found the remains of one of the biggest heroes in American history, congratulations, we can now put him to rest where he belongs," replied Nick Fury as he moved his attention back to the reports on his desk. "That's just it, he isn't dead. He has been in stasis this entire time, the ice preserving him for nearly 70 years," exclaimed Sanchez. Fury looked down at the file in his hand and tossed it down before standing up. "At the jet ready, we are moving to his location right now," commanded Fury. "But Naruto." A supercharged blonde teen rubbed his wrists as he was not free of the shackles that had bound him to the wall. Looking down at the head of the man who he had just killed by ripping his head off. "Where the hell do I go now?" muttered the blonde spy. "You need to go further down, this place is teeming with guards just like this one. Their negative emotions are intoxicating, such rage reminds me of my youth," whispered Kurama from inside Naruto's mind. Naruto nodded and with Kurama's chakra powering his body, he heard more guards approaching the room that he was in. Most likely to be looking for their buddy who was in 2 places at once due to Naruto. 3 of them are right outside the door, provided the fox sealed inside our hero. Naruto walked silently up to the door and listened, he could hear the heartbeats of the people on the other side of the door. There was 3 of them, Naruto reached out and touched the door. It was one of those industrial steel doors, heavy too. Naruto took 2 steps back and raced forward kicking the door clear off the hinges. The 3 Russian henchmen were surprised when they hear a banging on the door. That was all that they had time for as the door was blasted towards them and turned them into a red stain on the wall opposite the room they were going to investigate. Naruto walked out of the room, his mind racing as he strained his senses looking for more people, looking for the direction that he needed to go. Making a left, Naruto raced down the hallway, skidding to a stop as a punch was thrown at him. Naruto spun to avoid the punch while grabbing it, sliding under the limb and breaking the arm over his shoulder. A hammer-like force of an elbow to the ribs and his attacker gasped in pain. The man dropped to the floor where Naruto stepped on his throat and used it to push off. "The stairs are weird here. They don't go straight down to the lowest level, you have to go down and travel across the building to find the stair that lead to the lower level. You humans have a very tiring way of providing security," said Kurama as he yawned but nevertheless informed Naruto of how he had to travel downwards. "We could do that, or if you provide me a little more juice, I can make our own entrance. We can travel straight down," stated Naruto as his mind started to come up with a plan to get to the lowest level of this base as soon as possible. "Kid, you are speaking my language now, hold on this is gonna sting," said Kurama as he grew excited. With a little effort from the fox, another wave of power blasted through the seal and into Naruto's body. Naruto hissed as a burning heat slowly filled his body. He dropped to his knees as the burning traveled through his body like slow molasses. His eyes darkened from his normal crystal-like blue to an angry orange. His hair grew slightly more wild, his canines grew sharper and longer. He let loose a massive loud snarl as he hunched over onto all fours. His skin seemed to glow red before it bubbled and the redness consumed him. The energy morphed around him, giving him fox-like qualities. With his entire body encased in this energy, you could see his head surrounded by fox ears and snout. His arms and hands were wrapped in the red energy that looked like the claws of a fox. His legs were wrapped in the hind legs of a fox. Finally, right where his tailbone was the swishing red energy tail of a fox. Naruto smiled as he felt the burning fade away and a massive ocean of power was left behind. He tried to stand up straight and found it slightly odd, like he truly belonged on all fours like a fox. Taking a deep breath, Naruto ran forward at the wall in front of him, gaining enough speed that he managed to run up it. Running until the wall turned into the ceiling, Naruto raced across the ceiling before stopping and launching himself straight down. Arm extended forward, Naruto braced himself as he was about to crash into the stone floor. Like a hot knife through butter, Naruto and the red energy cut straight through the floor, and Naruto landed on the floor of the level lower the floor he had just ripped through. Of course, this floor just so happened to be the main training room for the entire compound. So Naruto was greeted to the sights of about 300 soldiers, who were all heavily armed. "I don't suppose that you'll just take me to you, boss, so that I don't have to kill you all?" asked the Kyuubi-powered Naruto. His answer was the mass shaking of heads no. Naruto shrugged, it didn't matter to him if they lived or died. He gave them a choice and they chose wrong. The union benefits must be amazing for these henchmen. Flushing, Queens. A large crowd were in a large arena watching a group of female cheerleaders dancing on stage. They wore red and gold suits that said Stark Industries in gold letters. The crowd cheered as the girls finished their routine. A voice was heard throughout the arena now, "Give it up for Tony Stark." The crowd let out a roar of approval as Tony in an Iron Man suit came down from the sky and landed on the stage in front of the cheerleaders. "Hello ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to get the party started?" asked Tony as the crowd screamed yes. "Well then, let's get this Stark Expo started then," said Stark as he opened his mask, showing his face to the roaring crowd. Tony stood with his arms forward and slowly lowered them, getting the crowd to slowly quiet down. He didn't speak until the crowd was silent. "As I am sure that you all know, there has been some recent changes from us here at Stark Industries. After my nasty little forced vacation this past year, I have moved away from making weapons for us to use against the world," started Stark as he looked around, his mind swimming with memories from his time being captured. He mentally shook away the bad memories before he continued on speaking. "So what does a weapon company that doesn't make weapons do? I believed that by making weapons, that I could help protect our country from other countries. I was wrong, building better weapons doesn't do anything but make the other people in the world develop their own weapons." Stark paused before he snapped his fingers and the curtain behind him lifted to reveal several Iron Man-like robots. There was a key difference between the robots and his suit, the robots were all poorly made. Gesturing to the failed Iron Man robots, Tony spoke once again. "People around the world are wondering how I was able to make the Iron Man suit. What they fail to realize is that I didn't make the Iron Man suit as a weapon or a suit of armor. I am this suit to survive." They lack the ability to think about protecting what they care about. They focus on trying to strike down those who stand before them, instead of shielding those who stand with them. Stark snapped his fingers again, and the robots crumbled to the ground, and the floor opened up to reveal a new platform. Stark Industries has always been proud to partner with the United States military and armed forces. We've developed weapons of mass destruction for years. However, we have turned a new leaf. Stark Industries is now going to be provided medical and technical support for the people who protect our homes. We plan on creating new combat uniforms that will prevent the loss of limbs, prevent the deaths of our soldiers, and most importantly, it will prevent the heartbreaks of the families at home. We will protect those who seek to protect us." The light shone on the platform that had been shrouded in darkness, and people were shown several groups of 4. Each group of 4 was from a different branch of the military. All of them were decked out in new uniforms that had small little arc reactors on the sleeves and pants, seemingly connected to the normal one on the front of the chest of the uniform. Tony smiled as he looked out at the crowd and thought, "I put a suit of armor around the shield of America, now I just have to figure out how to do it for the entire world." Back with Naruto. Shaking his head at the foolishness of the henchmen before him, Naruto didn't take any mercy on them. As the Russian men raised their weapons to shoot at him, Naruto disappeared in a red blur. It happened in the blink of an eye, half of them were suddenly shredded, like torn apart by a wild animal. Blood was sent spraying everywhere as body parts were littered everywhere around the room. Naruto's eyes screamed that he was crazy and full of bloodlust, his mouth stretching into insane smile. Kurama's power flowing through him, enhancing the darkest parts of his assassin lifestyle-based darkness. The men could only watch in horror as the single tail that was swishing behind him bubbled for a brief moment before splitting into twin tails. The air became thicker, making it nearly impossible to breathe for anyone not named Naruto. The ground cracked just from the sheer power that was on display. Everyone was frozen at the sight before them. This wasn't some teenage super spy like all the reports said about him. No, this was a freak of nature that was sent by God to punish them for their sins on Earth. Naruto didn't blur away this time. No, he made sure that they could see him this time. He wanted them to be afraid of them, he wanted them to see how helpless it was to oppose him. He wanted them to know that they signed their own death sentences by attacking Natasha and himself. They needed to know that they were going to die and there was nothing that they could do to stop him. The first soldier hit was torn into 3 pieces by the chakra hands that his current form granted him. The man's head went left, his legs went right, and his torso dropped to the ground lifeless and unmoving. Naruto was onto the next man before said torso even hit the ground. This time the chakra hand punched straight through the man's head, leaving nothing above the shoulders. Another man saw this and tried to turn and run, but suddenly both red energy hands pierced through his stomach like an arrow with both hands clasped together. That was until Naruto pulled them apart, splitting the man right down the middle, vertically. With a roar, Naruto launched himself at the next poor victim, his bloodlust and desire to kill growing with every kill. Deeper in the base. The general and Natasha both had angry looks on their faces. "You stupid bitch, do you have any idea of what you are doing?" hissed the general, fury growing in his eyes. The SK spat Natasha, the red-haired beauty not backing down at all. "You must be as dumb as the people of this country to think that I don't have a backup plan in place, ready to be used." They both turned back to the file on the table, with the profile for the new Black Widow. Natasha, well, it's great to see a fellow SHIELD agent. There were better, more intelligent ways to ask for this information. You can't just fly over a Russian military base and expect for the order not to shoot down one of the Russia's biggest assets turned traitor not to come in. "A general I might be, but even I have someone to answer to," replied the general. "Look, all that I need is some information on her. I know you can give me that," said Natasha, her eyes looking over the basic info that she already knew. "I can give you the information, but then I am going to need you to kill me," said the general as he turned his back to her. "What? Why?" questioned Black Widow as she stared at the man's back. It seemed as strong and firm as he was as a person. This request didn't line up with the person who he was until this point. "Because I have grown tired of this, Nat. Have been at this game for 40 years. I lived through the Cold War, I was part of the secret wars on both sides, I rose to power during the spy wars in the 80s. And through all of this time, what has playing this game gotten me? I have no family, no real friends. I live in a foreign country, far from the cozy streets of Long Island that I used to call home. My parents passed away and I had to mourn from here. I desire to no longer be Fury's pawn. So I am asking you to do me a favor, end my life, and I will give you everything that you need to know about the person who seeks to end yours," explained the general with a voice that cracked and revealed just how tired he truly was. Natasha was at a loss for words. It was hard to see a man who was a pillar of what they were supposed to be. She didn't get much time to think about it before the entire base shook like a leaf in the wind. She looked at the general who looked just as confused as he was at that. "This isn't you?" asked Natasha. "I was just about to ask you the same thing," stated the general. No, 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 I will tell you everything that you want to know, he is right through there. Yes, this door, this is HighKey," came the screaming from the other side of the door. Said door was blasted off the hinges, revealing Naruto in his Kyuubi chakra cloak, not that they knew what that was. Past it they saw a man with his inwards slowly leaking and becoming his outwards. Naruto snarled at the general, and all three of the tails behind him lashed out forward at the general. Said man tried to roll out the way, but one tail wrapped around his ankle and pulled him towards Naruto. As the other two tails wrapped themselves around the fake Russian man, Naruto smiled evilly at the man. "I told you before, you don't talk shit about your plan to me while I am still alive," came the negatively charged voice of Naruto, who tightened the tails around the SHIELD agent. The tails of chakra were starting to burn the man now as they ate through the layers of his clothes and started poisoning his body. The general hissed in pain but nevertheless looked Naruto right in the eye. "Be your worst, kid, because once this is over, I will kill you and everyone you love," spat the general with fake anger, knowing that this would most likely result in his death, the one thing he truly desired at this point. Naruto let loose a dark chuckle before smiling wildly, one-willed with crazy. Allowing the chakra tails to continue to hold up the man, Naruto held out his right hand and allowed the dark chakra to gather there. The chakra cloak warped as it pulled towards itself and condensed into a tiny ball of angry red energy. Naruto looked the general in the eye as he pushed the orb into the man's body. The results were instantly apparent, the man exploded into a puddle of blood and bone, slipped right through the chakra tails of Naruto's chakra cloak. Natasha gasped at the sight of her friend being nothing but a stain on the ground. Naruto turned to the source of the sound. The swishing tails returned to behind him, Naruto tilted his head as he looked at her. They made eye contact and Natasha immediately knew that he did not know who she was, mostly because he was lost in the power of whatever was covering his body with that energy. Naruto let out a massive roar that shook the room before he launched himself at her. Natasha was thrown off balance by the roar and could watch as the energy claws raced towards with the intent to tear right through her. She closed her eyes as the claw made contact with her right cheek. Drip. 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 Naruto stood and looked up at the massive cage that housed the source of the power currently flowing through him. "You gave in to your anger, child," said Kurama as he looked down at the blonde teen before him. "Did I?" asked Naruto, his body numb while his brain was running like it was trying to wade through a lake of jello. "Don't worry, you are not the first to give in to the darkness inside, kid. Nor will you be the last, you humans rarely are pure-hearted enough to withstand the power of a biju. My youngest brother is known to drive the person who he is sealed inside insane," replied Kurama as he stretched lazily. "So what do I do now?" asked Naruto as he fell backwards and landed on his back looking straight up at the soar-like ceiling of his mindscape. "What do I do now? Is quite the question, kid," stated Kurama as he looked at the young spy sitting before him before he continued. "I guess I will do you this one favor this time. Do not expect me to be so kind in the future," muttered the nine-tailed fox before it closed its eyes and focused on the endless ocean that was its chakra pool. Feeling for the slow draining feeling, like a tiny speck of dust inside of a 20,000-foot mansion, Kurama managed to find the power that Naruto was using from him. And with a slight tug, all of that power was stripped from Naruto's body and returned to his own being. "It is done, child, you are free of my power once again," said Kurama as he laid back on his stomach and yawned. "Why did you help me? You didn't have to. You said so yourself, we humans fail to handle your powers so often. I would just be another causality in the long list," questioned Naruto as he continued to lay there. Kurama looked at the still form of Naruto and blinked. "It is a story for another time, but there is a simple reason. I have sealed inside of you since the day that you were born. But we have been together longer than that," Kurama said before he forced Naruto out of his own mindscape. Naruto tried to sit up to ask more questions to the fox that lived inside of him. But he couldn't move nor could he talk. Instead it was like he melted through the watery ground and was falling. Kurama yawned and prepared himself for a nice nap. Interacting with people drained his social battery more than he could ever admit. Outside in the real world, Natasha felt the heat touch her right cheek and closed her eyes. She waited for the pain, the embrace of death to claim her life. But it never came, instead she heard a thud. As Naruto dropped to the ground in front of her. She opened her eyes and saw Naruto asleep in front of her, his hand outstretched still, but it dropped from her cheek to her stomach. Upon further inspection, Natasha realized that Naruto's skin was red all over, as if the blonde had just gotten one of the worst sunburns in the world. Hell, the blonde teen's skin was still steaming. Reaching inside of her coat pocket, she pulled out her thermal gloves before throwing the blonde agent over her shoulder. She let out a deep breath as she marched her way out of the base. Floor by floor, she passed, each one getting less and less bloody. Body parts and blood stains decorated the halls, the carnage inhumane. But she was trained by S.H.I.E.L.D., she knew that things like this happened. She had done it before, not as messy, but she had cleared out entire buildings before. Finally she made it outside, and the gloomy sky was gray everywhere that she could see. She set Naruto down against the wall of the building they had just exited, he was still deeply unconscious. She gave him a once-over, but she found most of his equipment damaged. Reaching around towards her gun, she was quick to slide over and allow the bullet that would have hit her in the shoulder hit the wall. "Elena Belova, just the girl that I was looking for," stated Natasha, her eyes firmly on the blonde-haired knockoff version of herself. "Ah, Natasha Romanoff, the has-been," replied Yelena, her blonde hair blowing in the wind. Natasha didn't react to the dig, and Yelena smirked. "I really did a number on you for you to be this calm, even when faced with death. Can't say that I blamed you, hell they did a number on me," said Yelena as she held her twin guns pointed at Naruto and Natasha. "What are you doing here? Why did you put out a hit on me?" asked Natasha, her eyes trained unblinkingly on Yelena. "At first it was all part of the job, clients want to know that version 2.0 is better than the original. Then it became a game, cat and mouse all around the globe. But I grew bored of it for a while, until I saw that boy you're covering, Natasha. He is quite the specimen, if I do say so myself," rambled Yelena. "You will not lay a single finger on his golden hair-covered head or you'll find that you don't have one anymore," hissed Natasha as she stepped completely in front of Naruto. "Awfully protective of the mission there, are we, Nat? Does he know that you don't care for him, that he is nothing more than a mission? Or does that help you get your rocks off? Is it a big inside joke? The child that S.H.I.E.L.D. raised as a weapon set to breed with S.H.I.E.L.D.'s top agent. Oh, but you can't have kids now, can you?" Yelena finished rhetorically. Natasha took a deep breath and smirked as she let off a shot and hit Yelena in the left knee, forcing the blonde assassin to the ground, kneeling. "I have no mission for Naruto, the World Council can't force me to do something like that. I kill people for a living, I am nobody's whore. You got bad intel, girly, and bad intel is a spy's worst enemy," said Natasha. Yelena chuckled as she pointed the twin guns at Natasha and said, "You fell for it. I am going to pull this trigger and either you die and I get to collect a $20 million bounty or you move out the way and I put 2 bullets in Junior's head behind you." Natasha grit her teeth and replied with, "What if I pull the trigger first? Then my friend about 250 meters back is going to pull the trigger on his gun and you and the boy wonder will make a messy regardless," stated Yelena. Natasha smirked and pointed with the hand that wasn't holding the gun up towards the sky, where a shield jet flew overhead, and Yelena pulled the trigger. Natasha got hit in the right thigh and the left calf, causing her to hiss in pain. But nothing hurt when a large shot was heard. Crack. Wah, gasped Naruto as Natasha looked at him. There was a gunshot wound. It was perfectly aimed, middle of the left side of his body, where his heart should be. The previously knocked out blonde agent had wide open eyes now. He looked at Natasha, his eyes watering, and he smiled. He let loose a wet cough that hurt Natasha's chest. As he continued to smile at her, blood began to leak from the corners of his stretched out lips. The shield jet landed and people rushed out. They didn't need to be told anything as Natasha was staring at a dying Naruto. They quickly got him an oxygen mask and onto a stretcher. "Natasha, are you hurt? You were shot in the thigh and leg." "Shit. She isn't responding. She's going into shot. Medic, get back out here. We can't if we need all hands on deck to keep Naruto alive." By this point, Natasha had been carried onto the ship and they had already blasted off towards a shield base. Natasha's mind unfogged itself and she looked at the wheelchair that she was in and rolled herself towards the nearest agent. "Agent Fall, where are we headed to?" "Natasha, we are headed to Colorado. It is the only base that we have that would have enough equipment, enough doctors, and enough scientists on hand in case anything goes wrong. But don't worry, Naruto is one of the biggest priorities that we have, Fury's orders," replied Agent Fall before he walked off. "Fury's orders, huh?" thought Natasha as she wheeled herself to the cockpit. Inside Naruto's mind. "Back again so soon, child?" asked Kurama as he had yet to open his eyes from his nap. Naruto didn't answer with anything but a wheezing noise. Kurama opened his eyes and saw Naruto on his knees, blood leaking from his chest and his mouth. "What happened to you, kid? Can't I take a nap without you killing us both?" said Kurama as he watched Naruto fall forward, face first into the water. "Kid? This isn't a joke, is it? You really are dying." "Well fuck," snarled Kurama. Suddenly the lighting around the cage in the middle of the sewer grew dimmer. The fading light showing Kurama that Naruto really was dying. If Naruto were to die on this strange planet, that would mean the end for Kurama as well. There would be no reuniting with his other half. "I told you that you had used up all of your goodwill earlier, kid, but this isn't for you. This is me being selfish and making sure that we both stay alive," said Kurama as he rose up to his full size in a very long time. Taking a deep breath, Kurama closed his eyes and felt for the fading heartbeat of Naruto. Outside. "Shit, we're losing him. How far are we from Colorado?" asked a medic. "We are about 40 minutes out, we can't fly any faster with him in critical condition," yelled out a crew member. "Inside." It took Kurama a minute to find it. It was slow, like the fluttering wings of a butterfly. The light turned off completely and Kurama could feel the same feeling that he had when he was sealed into Naruto, the cold grasp of death coming in to take whatever soul belonged to it. With a massive roar, Kurama unleashed as much of his power as he could. It didn't stop the crushing pressure that was growing around Kurama. Kurama was forced to his knees by said force, but never gave up on pushing as much of his power through Naruto's body and into his heart. Outside. "We lost him," said one medic as they heard Naruto's monitor flatline. "Bring in the machine, we have to try and restart his heart." "What is the ADA on Colorado?" 17 minutes. Inside. Kurama was huffing, years of being lazy and sleeping had robbed him of his stamina, but wave after wave of his power blasted through Naruto's body. Kurama was trying to be careful, he didn't want to overload Naruto's body with his power and kill him. Suddenly a wind filled the cage, blowing towards the endless void behind Kurama and away from the cage gates. Kurama paid no attention to it as he forced himself to continue trying to heal Naruto. The wind grew in strength and Kurama realized that this wasn't a normal wind, it was pushing him backwards, into the endless void and most likely towards impure nothingness. Outside. 1 2 3 clear, fuck again. 1 2 3 clear. Again. "Sir, we are about 3 minutes out of the Colorado base." "Hold on Naruto, you're almost there." Inside. Kurama felt the cold end coming, he had been pulled away from the cage gates minutes ago. The end was near, something he wasn't quite ready to accept. He felt one of his tail come into contact with what felt like a sheet of ice, and suddenly, he didn't have any restrictions. He unleashed every ounce of his power. Outside. Beep 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 beep. Inside. Whatever icy thing that had touched his tails was gone and Kurama felt the wind disappear. Scrambling forward, Kurama raced towards what he believed was the front of the cage. There was a flickering of light and Kurama was greeted with the sight of the shitty sewer again. Knowing that what he was doing was working, Kurama continued to pour as much as he could force into Naruto's body. Outside. "Yeah, it seems that there is a bit of a problem. Bruce Banner is currently with General Ross at our base in Colorado," said Agent Fall. "Wait, who is in charge? Bruce or that thing?" asked Natasha. Came the roar from outside. Sounds like the Hulk, replied Fall. Hiss. So Naruto exploded with red energy and melted through the first door out the jet. We had to release the second emergency to create the airlock again. Called out one of the medics through the intercom. Shit, whispered Natasha as she knew that energy was harmful to Naruto while also leaving him exhausted. Suddenly, someone who wasn't on the jet sent them a message. Agent Romanov, please tell me that Naruto isn't about to get into a fight with Banner's transformed state, came the voice of Fury. I can't confirm or deny, sir. I have not taken a look at the situation yet, sir, replied Natasha. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that was the case. Well, how about you pull your head out of your ass because Agent Whiskers is going to fight the Incredible Hulk and become a stain on a Colorado mountain, demanded Fury over the intercom. On it, sir, replied Natasha as she ran to the cockpit and looked at the scene before her. Standing a close to 10 feet tall, with no shirt but all the muscles in the world and completely green, was the Incredible Hulk. An unstoppable force of nature that couldn't be reasoned with, could not be defeated. The thing fed on anger, and the more it fought, the angrier it got. The angrier that it got, the stronger it got. Opposite of the green freak of nature, stood Naruto. 3 tails made of that red energy swishing behind him. Naruto fell forward onto all fours as the red energy condensed around his body. It tightened around until the point that you couldn't see through the energy anymore and see Naruto. The now completely covered in dark red energy male let loose a roar that was on the same level as the one that the Hulk had let rip minutes ago. As he lowered his head, you could see that the outline of fox ears on his head were no longer outlines, he had solid ears on his head. The energy bubbles and you could see patches of fur growing all over Naruto. The 3 tails twisted angrily and they were shocked to see a 4th tail bubble into existence. The wind around Naruto grew stronger as if he was demanded that the never forces of nature bend to his will in this form. And without warning, Naruto launched himself at the Hulk. Natasha watched, expecting for the Hulk to simply shrug off the blow. Nobody was expecting for the Hulk to get punched in the face and be lifted off the ground flying through the air. Letting loose another roar, Naruto gave chase to the stunned green man. The Hulk had experienced a couple of things in the short time that it had been out and about. It mostly experienced anger, lots of it. It experienced being annoyed by the people who shot at it. Bullets did nothing to harm it, it tickled. Missiles were like a breeze of hot air, nothing the Hulk couldn't handle. Pain was something new to the Hulk. Puny Banner was used to it, but the Hulk was not. You snarl, you hurt Hulk. Screamed the Hulk as he climbed back to his feet looking at the form of the 4-tailed Kyuubified Naruto. Naruto let loose a roar that shook the ground and Hulk growled in anger as a response. Without any more words or noises, the Hulk threw himself at the fox-like figure. Naruto sent his 4 tails of chakra to grab the Hulk. It didn't even slow down the green giant as he caught all 4 tails in his left and used them to pull Naruto towards him. Bam. Hulk's massive right fist smashed into Naruto's face, making it flat until Kurama's chakra managed to make it 3D again. The force also sent the fox-like figure flying until the Hulk tugged on the tails grasped by his left hand and pulled. Naruto came tumbling back towards the Hulk like a yo-yo. The Hulk delivered a jackhammer-like blow to Naruto's back, right above his tailbone where his tails that the Hulk just released. With his left fist, the Hulk slapped Naruto into the ground before lining Naruto's head up and punting it several hundred feet. The Hulk roared in triumph, but sniffed the air as if sensing something that he wasn't sure of, something dangerous. In the distance from where Naruto had landed, the sky had darkened around that location. The wind picked up greatly and the sky was split by a beam of red energy and a howl was heard that shook the world. Aigh. Inside Naruto's mind. Naruto gasped loudly, only to suck in water. Rolling over, he coughed up some water and was treated to the side of the shitty ceiling of his sewer-like mindscape. His hand flew to his chest and over his heart. There was a tear on his shirt, but he wiggled his fingers through the hole in his shirt but felt nothing but the pounding of his heart inside his chest when he put his fingers over his heart. I'm okay. But am I dead? Thought Naruto as he moved on and climbed to his feet. He looked around and saw cage doors that normally held the towering figure of Kurama. As he took a single step towards the cage, a wave of red energy came out of the cage and wrapped itself around Naruto. Naruto didn't fight it as he knew this was of the energy, the chakra of his tenant. Instead he allowed it to crash over him, seemingly soaking into his skin. It filled him with more strength than he had ever had in his body. But it burned, this was more than he could happen, the burning spread throughout his body and he collapsed to all fours, groaning in pain. I would say that I am sorry, but I did what I had to do, came the deep voice of Kurama. Naruto looked up from the water-covered ground and saw Kurama, but he wasn't towering. No, he was much smaller, he was barely 20 feet tall. His deep orange fur was slightly off color and his eyes, which normally held the power of a god, were empty tired shells. What is happening, gasped out Naruto as his body struggled to get accustomed to this massive change in power. You were dead for a while, replied Kurama tiredly. Dead? I died? Questioned Naruto as the edges of his body slowly became pain-free. You were gone for a little over 20 minutes. You should be dead, fated from this plane of existence onto the next great journey. However, I am not quite ready to experience that myself just yet. So with a little help from the medics on the outside and my own vast powers, we brought you back from the dead. Just in time to be turned into a stain on the side of the mountain by the jolly green giant out there. Explained Kurama as he slowly regained his angry orange color. Green giant? You mean the Hulk? I am fighting the transformed version of Banner that Naruto put together before looking Kurama in the eye and asking now what? Now what? Must I do everything for you? I have provided you, a mere human, the use of 6 tails of my power. 6 tails of endless power, go out there and make sure that we don't die here. I am not a magic man, I cannot nor will I be performing miracles to keep us alive every day, spat Kurama. Naruto nodded and the sower faded from his view as it was replaced by the earthly view of the Colorado mountainside. Naruto shook his head as he realized that he didn't feel the pain that he felt before. Looking up, it was hard to miss the giant green asshole that was trying to kill him flying towards him. Sliding to his left, Naruto avoided getting stomped by the Hulk and slammed him body into the ribs of the green giant. Did it damage the Hulk? No. Did it allow Naruto to come back with a second quick attack to throw the Hulk off balance? Also no. It did allow the Hulk to grasp Naruto by the shoulders and slam him head first into the ground. Grabbing the multiple tails, the Hulk grabbed Naruto and slammed him into the ground before doing it again on the other side of his body. Naruto snarled and that 6th tail exploded out of his body and wrapped itself around Hulk's neck. The Hulk was unprepared for this attack on one of its vital areas and released the rest of the tails to try and pull that one off his neck. Feeling stronger than ever, Naruto decided to capitalize on that. Raining body shot after body shot onto the Hulk, Naruto failed to do any real damage. The Hulk was prepared for this level of strength and growled before tossing Naruto into the air and jumping up after him. A single punch left Naruto dazed and unable to do anything as the Hulk aligned his feet with Naruto's body. The result was the force of a 100-story building being dropped on Naruto. The chakra cloak vanished and in the dust, the Hulk never noticed Naruto revert back to normal. Looking around, the Hulk was unable to find the fox-like creature it had been fighting. Why you run from Hulk? Hulk find you, Hulk smash. Screamed the Hulk before he jumped off looking for the red thing. Natasha and the SHIELD agents aboard the jet landed and looked at Naruto. Is he alive? Asked Natasha. He is, just knocked out. We are going to put him in a medial coma for a couple of weeks until he can get him back to 100%, said one of the medics. Why? What's wrong with him? Questioned Natasha as she gave him the once-over. He looked fine. The medic held up a portable X-ray gun and said this kid managed to crack just about every bone in his body, he needs time to heal. Alright, get him back on the jet and take him to home base. Ordered Natasha. 23 days later. Naruto's eyes fluttered as he opened them and was met with complete darkness. I am telling you, Fury, this is a false alarm, there is no way that he is awake. He should be in the coma for another 3 to 4 weeks. Said an unfamiliar voice. I'm awake, Naruto said in a raspy voice that was not his usual voice. Clearly being asleep for some time had left his throat dry and scratchy. As I was saying, Doctor, Naruto is awake. If you would give us a moment before you run your tests on him, commanded Fury. The doctor didn't bother putting up an argument with his single-eyed boss, Fury got what Fury wanted. Before you ask your questions, Fury, I am going to ask my own set of questions, and you better not lie to me, I will know if you are, stated Naruto, turning his eye-covered head to look in the directions of Fury. Well, go on, ask away, answered Fury to the unsaid challenge. You told me that I came here through a portal as a fox-like creature, did you know that it was a separate being that lived in my body? Asked Naruto. No, I thought it might be some kind of split personality, but I never would have guessed that it was its own entity. Answered Fury. He is telling the truth, confirmed Kurama. Okay, Fury, did you have anything to do with why I can't remember my homeworld? Questioned Naruto. No, I believe that is something the World Council did. And they did it without my permission, stated Fury. Truth. Naruto nodded and asked his final question, did you know the Hulk was going to be there in Colorado? No, he was supposed to be in Brazil, but that dumbass General Ross doesn't know how to wait a minute and listen to reason, answered Fury. Truth. Okay, Fury. You haven't lied to me so far. I appreciate that, so what can I do for you? Asked Naruto. I was checking on you, Naruto. I know that shield seems cold and sometimes evil. I do what I can to make sure my agents are taken care of. As long as you work for me, I will make it my priority to make sure that you stay in good condition, good health. said Fury as he walked over to Naruto and slowly unwrapped the blonde's head. Fury looked at Naruto and continued to speak, "You were never meant to fight the Hulk, at least not as you are now. I know about that energy that flows within you, that empowers you beyond anything a human could hope to match. I am not just talking about that red energy that comes from what lives inside of you. When you fought alongside Tony on Stark Tower, you were overflowing with that energy and lifted a car. That energy didn't feel like a foreign power source, it was all you. It felt like an extension of what you usually feel like. I can feel it, sooner than later, we are going to need that to fight what is coming. I don't know what it is yet, but it is coming." Naruto looked up at Fury and looked him in the eye. "He is telling the truth." Naruto nodded and said, "Okay, I am 100% committed to mastering that power, this energy that flows through me." "Good, you can do that while you babysit Stark, he is under house arrest until further notice. Don't let him out of your sight." The next day. Stark residence. Tony was tearing apart his workstation, not because he was working on a solution. Not because he was angry, no, because he had finished his work and had arrived at the conclusion that there was no solution. He couldn't exactly feel it, but he could imagine the metal slowly poisoning his blood. Every heartbeat slowly but surely bringing him closer and closer to the end. Every second that he lives, his own body, his own invention that was meant to keep his heart beating, was slowly making sure that his heart would one day never beat again. It was a sobering event, a sobering moment in life. To know that you're dying, to know that it is your own body doing it to you. The shivering pain that crept up and down his spine, the full body spasms that he couldn't control. The inability to control his body upon waking up until his body readjusts. "Stark, you look like you've seen a ghost," said Fury. "If I don't find a solution, you will have to talk to my ghost," Fury replied Tony as he looked away from his data projection and at Fury. "Oh look, you brought the kid along too. Finally caved and decided to give him to me," said Tony looking at Naruto. "No, I brought you a babysitter to make sure that you haven't done anything too crazy, nor that you will do anything crazy," said Fury as he turned and left. Naruto looked at Tony and frowned. "You're dying?" questioned the blonde SHIELD agent. "Yeah, it happens to the best of us," replied Tony as he began to run more tests on his computer, trying to solve a puzzle with no earthly solution. In New Mexico. This Earth place was very strange to Thor, the people were not in tip-top shape. They were not warriors, they didn't understand the request of more when smashing a cup on the ground. Truly, these were people living in ancient times. The females were quite pleasing to look at, this Jane Foster and her assistant Darcy were both very attractive in different ways. Darcy was more physically attractive overall, while Jane held great natural beauty, but her mind was the true gem. She understood things on a level that didn't belong on Earth, she was far more advanced than anyone else that Thor had encountered on this planet. "Hey, did you guys hear about some kind of hammer that is in the middle of the desert? They said that nobody can lift it. It is right around the area that we found you, Thor," said Darcy, pushing the plot forward for the author of this story. "Then I must to this location immediately. If Father is truly testing my worthiness, I must not disappoint," said Thor as he stood up. "Okay, I guess we can take you there," said Jane as she grabbed her car keys. With Tony and Naruto. Tony was slightly paler than when Naruto first arrived, but nothing too concerning, Naruto could still hear his heart beating as strongly as before. Naruto was sitting off to the side, a scroll written by someone named Minato Namikaze on how to use chakra to its full potential. "My chakra will feel like angry hot lava flowing from within, a piece of my own ability to sense negative intent and emotions. You should feel another source of chakra, more pleasant. It should feel like a gentle breeze or the soft tapping of waves onto the beach shore," explained Kurama. Naruto frowned. "That sounds terrible. To be so in tune with purely negative emotions and actions from the world around you that it infects your chakra." Kurama's ears perked up at hearing Naruto's thoughts. "Father, is this the human that you told me would free me from the curse of hatred that I bear?" Naruto listened to what Naruto had to say and remembered the flickers from when he was nearly successful when he was training with SHIELD. The momentary flashes of great energy flowing through his body. Naruto didn't see it because his eyes were closed, but his body took on a blue outline. I know his actual chakra color is yellow, I also don't give a shit. In the show it is blue, so in this story and all of my other stories, Naruto will have generic ass blue chakra like everyone else. Stark looking at his computer that suddenly beeped as Naruto's chakra output steady rose. "New power source detected, running analyst with new source of power source accepted," said Jarvis to Tony. Tony looked around the room and saw Naruto outlined in blue. "The kid is the source of this energy." "It seems so, sir," replied Jarvis. "Naruto, would you be able to outlet any of that energy into something else?" asked Tony as his mind raced with ideas. I honestly do not know," replied Naruto as he opened his eyes and continued to focus on the energy that was racing through him. Looking down at the scroll in front of him, Naruto looked at Tony and said, maybe there is something about channeling my energy through things in this scroll. Tony nodded and turned to his computer. Jarvis, I need you to break down that energy source. I need to know the wavelength, the conversion into our normal units of power, the life cycle that it has. I need to know everything. But Thor was hiding behind some rocks, along with Jane and Darcy. So what's the plan, Fabio? Asked Darcy. The plan is you wait here while I go retrieve my hammer, restore my powers and honor, then come back here before go get those shots of jelly that you suggested earlier. Replied Thor as he stood up and walked right up to the shield fence that was surrounding the area around his hammer. Jane looked at Darcy, who shrugged. Thor grabbed one of the poles that held up the fence and pulled it out of the ground and slipping through the gap before slamming the pole back into place. He extended his hand, hoping that his hammer would just shoot off and come to his hand like it had so many times before, but nothing happened. Where in Odin's blazes is my hammer? Whispered Thor as he looked around and saw multiple white tents. Deciding that he would have to recover his hammer the old-fashioned way, Thor started trying to navigate his way through the maze of white tents. It seems that a silent alarm went off as countless shield agents exited the tents and were all on high alert. Thor was not concerned with them, he was in the greatest shape that one could be in with physical strength, only rivaled by a certain blonde shield agent currently assisting Tony Stark. They must have spotted Thor because one of the agents yelled freeze at him. Ah, perfect, a tour guide, said Thor, can you point me in the direction of my hammer? I kind of need it this moment. The agent didn't say anything as he came with a nightstick and swung it at Thor. Thor leaned back and let it pass by his head unimpressed before punching said agent in the solar plexus, knocking both all of the air in the agent's body and the agent himself out. This made the other agents more hostile and they all prepared to attack him. But Naruto and Tony. Normally any one of Tony's projects required a large setup time. However, having a super strong, super willing teenager helper allowed Tony to set up this project in no time. Naruto was hooked up to a machine, one that Tony hoped would be able to wield the power that Naruto possessed into creating a new power source for Tony to use. Tony looked at the coils that would be used for the power reactor and grabbed his wrench and prepared to turn the dial. You ready, kid? He asked. As ready as I'll be. And you are sure that this will work, right? Stated and then questioned Naruto as he looked at the numerous wires attached to his body and to the massive coils Tony had him set up. Tony didn't say anything, he simply placed his crystal prism into the correct position, double-checked his arc reactor that was to house the new power source, custom built for this occasion, and turned the dial. Naruto took it as his turn to flare his chakra and flare he did. The results were immediately seen as the conducting coils were lit up in a blazing deep blue as the energy was redirected through the crystal prism. Naruto gasped as he felt the chakra being sucked out of his body, the feeling of being drained was not one that he would like to have repeated on him. Suddenly, there was a beam of electrified chakra that shot out from the crystal and cut straight through one of Tony's cars. Tony was quick to use the wrench to slowly adjust the position of the crystal and the beam. The beam cut through his car and then his wall, and then his shelves until finally it hit the arc reactor that Tony had set up for this experiment. The arc reactor surged with blue energy, sucking up as much as it could before Naruto gasped and collapsed to his knees and Tony shut the machine down. Hey kid, you alright? Asked Tony as he eyed Naruto on all fours. Naruto gave him a thumbs up before rolling onto his back and taking some deep breaths. Tony rolled his eyes and looked at his custom arc reactor. Moving forward, he could see that it was filled with an electric blue energy, different from his standard bright bluish-white color. This one was clearly different from any of the ones powered by his own solution. Jarvis, did we do it? I am still running some tests, but it seems that you and Mr. Uzumaki did manage to create a new element. Replied the assistant AI program. We don't really have time for you to run tests, we have to get this human trial started. Said Tony as he removed his current arc reactor and tossed it to the side and input the new one. Tony felt the new reactor immediately make a difference and screamed a little as he felt his body go through same changes. The aching pain disappeared, the normal strength of his body returned. Jarvis, what is my metrics looking like? Asked Tony as he felt better than ever. Give me an hour to gather more data, but everything seems to be better, your metrics look to be balancing out, replied Jarvis. Naruto read the message on his wristwatch and nodded before standing and turning to Tony. I take it that you're going to be alive for a while, Mr. Stark. As much as I would love to spend more time with you, I have been reassigned. Said Naruto. Oh, Fury sending you far and wide. Sassed Tony. I've been sent to New Mexico, there is a potential issue that they want me to take care of. I will check back in with you shortly, make sure that you're good. Said Naruto. New Mexico. Thor was slumped over in his chair, you beat up like 20 people to go get what is rightfully yours, only for it to reject you. Am I truly this unworthy father? Said Thor as he looked up at the bright New Mexico sky. There was no answer that came down to him, only the soft thumping of something heavy in the distance. Wait, thumping. Thor left the chair in the shade and walked out onto the street to see an Asgardian destroyer walking down the street. This greatly puzzled Thor. There was no reason to send one of those here. There was no threat to Asgard here, the only person who even knew what Asgard was himself. The destroyer opened its head and sent a blast of energy right at Thor's location. Thor jumped back just in time to get blasted right off his feet and land painfully on his back. What in Odin's name is going on? You shouldn't be able to harm me, I am a citizen of Asgard and those you should be cursed from being able to target me, said Thor. The destroyer didn't say anything as it simply reopened its head and launched another attack at Thor, who rolled away on his side. The blast sent him skidding, and even his tough Asgardian skin did little to prevent the scrapes that littered his arms and back as his shirt was torn up by the rough road. Thor's breath was running ragged as he was sent skidding and flying from the blasts, barely able to avoid them. Laying on his back, he looked at the sky and he thought about his father. Father, I am sorry, you've always tried to teach me to be the best that I can be. The best warrior, the best leader, the best person. I've ignored your lessons time and time again, they never made sense, but they do now. I'm sorry, it all makes sense now, said Thor as he laid, his strength drained by the ragdolling of his body. The destroyer didn't care for his tender moment of realization, it just continued on to launching its next attack. Only for it to get hit a brick, causing it to stop its attack. Thor looked and saw that Jane had done something really dumb for such a smart girl. The destroyer loaded up an attack, and Thor felt his chest twist in pain. No, don't hurt her. You want to kill someone, you kill me, screamed Thor. The destroyer didn't listen and sent a blast of deadly energy at Jane, while Thor screamed no. The blast approached her, and right before it hit her, it was intercepted by a blur of blue energy. The blue blur tore the energy apart, and there stood Naruto, his eyes blazing with energy as he held his sword in front of him, it covered in a thin blue outline, showing that he had supercharged it with his chakra. Sorry Ms. Foster, I got lost, because everything looks the same around here, said Naruto as he stood in front of her, his hair swaying lightly in the wind. Jane just nodded dumbly and suddenly the sky crackled with lightning and the sky darkened. Naruto sniffed the air and suddenly a hammer slammed into the destroyer, sending it skidding backwards on its back. Thor dropped down next to Naruto, in his traditional Asgardian armor, with his red cape flowing behind him. Jane looked at him in awe and Naruto made a face of disbelief. Thank you blonde child, you have saved a very special person to me, said Thor as he slammed his hand onto Naruto's back. Naruto didn't move at all, surprising Thor who laughed. Are you an Asgardian as well? I don't recall ever seeing you, but with this level of strength, I could see it, stated Thor. No, I'm just a shield agent, replied Naruto as he looked at the destroyer get up. Ah, those people who I beat up in the tents, you should have been there, they might have stood a chance, said Thor before he threw his hammer and nailed the destroyer in the face. The destroyer bounced, but Thor wasn't done just yet. Flying towards his hammer, Thor used it to blast the destroyer into the sky when he was surprised to see Naruto slicing it in half with his sword. Shaking his head at the strange sight, Thor began to spin his hammer and again the sky darkened and the sky was split by lightning. A small tornado appeared around Thor, controlled completely by him. He didn't waste any time and using it to pick up the two halves of the destroyed destroyer and using his tornado to tear it to shreds. Raising his hammer, lightning came down multiple times, striking the tornado over and over again, making sure that the magical Asgardian object had no chance of surviving. With a single bat of his hammer, Thor sent the tornado blasting through the skies, never to be seen from again. Turning to Jane and Naruto, Thor smiled brightly. Jane, I will never forget you, Thor said to the beautiful scientist before he turned to Naruto. My name is Naruto, by the way, supplied Naruto. Thor. And it was a pleasure to meet you, Naruto, Thor said after introducing himself before he turned back to Jane. I wish that I could stay here with you forever, but I am afraid that my planet need me, stated Thor as he stepped closer to her. Jane wiped a slightly wet eye and sadly said, I know. Promise me that you'll visit. Thor didn't say anything, but he did step forward and kiss her. After a moment, they broke the kiss, and a beam of rainbow energy broke through the sky, hit the Asgardian prince. He didn't promise to visit, did he? Jane asked absent-mindedly. No, he did not, replied Naruto as he looked at the streets that were damaged before looking at Jane and saying, how would you like a job where you can research whatever you want with unlimited funds?